In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
Welcome, all you beautiful people. What a crowd. It's another Thursday morning here on Nerd Bacon. Man, it's going to be a good episode. You know what? I might have spilled a little bit of salt on this episode of the bacon. Talking about that blacklisting in the industry today. It should be a lot of fun. We got a special guest coming as soon as he can figure out his technical issues. We'll be having Dr. Ben come in the house because he got a little blacklisted this week.
Uh-oh.
Got a little blackball, little
Terrible.
little kick-a-rooney, little kicked out. Yeah,
That's not good.
it's not good. We're going to talk about his situation today. There was also another thing. I went onto Twitter today, this last week. Yeah, I went on Twitter and I saw an empty chair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nobody there. So the Frogman, the Human Sunbeam, got busted this week.
Yeah.
And I know why too. I know why. I saw the joke he posted. It was
Edgy?
edgy. It was edgy. Yeah, it was one of those things that it was probably coming.
Yeah, but
Well, people like Ethan have a target on their back anyway.
yeah.
They do. Yeah.
There's people out there just waiting to see
Yeah, and
something
the thing
they
is, like,
can report.
I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world people think it is.
It's not a big deal. No.
It's not a big deal.
Actually, it helped him get more stuff out in the mail. I finally got my package.
Yep.
Got a little more time on his hands. Yeah.
Yeah, had a little extra time, so it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let's get down
Marvel-
to the Z's and mail that package out. Yeah.
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 Marvel and DC shit. Take
Twitter.
notes.
Yeah. Twitter can be real good for marketing, but
Yeah.
it can
But
be
it's
a real pain in the.
And it's a time sink. Like some people spend a lot of time in there.
The real pain in the X. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Real pain in the X. Randy, how was your week, man? You doing all right?
I'm doing okay. I'm in good shape for the shape I'm in. So
Well,
it's been mostly running around and putting out little fires and finding out how much the glass on the screen door is going to run me and that kind of thing. So,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Given reading about people's passing up on Facebook. Lots of fun. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit this morning as well. And
Made a list of stuff I have to get done, and there's a whole page of it, and I'm looking at it and going, okay.
yeah,
Maybe I shouldn't add on any more projects for the rest of the year.
that to-do list is ever growing, isn't it?
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Pedro,
Not complaining, though. Not complaining.
I understand that. Pedro, how about you? Doing all right?
I'm doing great, man. Growing that mailing list for Weibus and Kaijus, working on page 25 as we speak, doing some animation for people, just work, zero drama.
Work, and
Yep.
zero drama.
Zero drama.
Zero drama. Really?
Preparing that trap for the fishmonger.
Oh no, dude! He got in the car crash. Nothing serious.
Oh no!
Oh no,
Nothing
the end of the
serious.
fishmonger.
That was a bad joke.
Yeah, nothing serious. Nothing serious. But he got in the
Randy-
car crash. Yeah,
Randy
so he's
really
out of
did not
commission.
know.
He's out of commission, so I'm safe for a couple of days.
Okay.
Randy really did not know that the fishmonger got
I
hurt.
did not know.
No, he didn't. He
Yeah.
didn't. But
Are you
dude,
sure
like,
you didn't do something, Pedro?
I can't say I didn't chuckle.
That's like that guy in Russia, right? The
Yeah.
Putin
I
taps
can't
him
say
on
that-
his head and says, "You're okay. You're just fine.
Yeah.
See ya. Get on that
Yeah.
plane and go." And then they get up far enough and
I mean, I can't say I didn't chuckle, but looking at all that fish splattered all over the street just brought joy
Ooh.
to my black heart. Just like, oh, sorry, man. Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
that escalated quickly.
What a story, Mark.
Mm-mm.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
great stuff.
Whiskey man, how's your week going?
Oh, just busy. I'm working on page 10 of my comic book stuff, so lots and lots of reference art and 3D models and a whole bunch of art, more art again.
Art and
Nice.
art.
Nice.
Ass stuff.
I was
Bunch of
reading some
ass
of
stuff.
the comments here actually, and somebody was
is rolling.
talking about
Yeah.
frying bacon for 3 hours. I think that's the best idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
Well,
bacon
let's go ahead and get
sandwich is-
right into the chat and welcome the folks here
Yeah,
this
do
morning.
it.
We got Ronan's reviews in the house. I am first.
There you
Woohoo! Yes, you
Woohoo.
are. And only 6'4" second. Welcome. It's good to have you here. John Apple's in the house. Hell, everyone. Good to have you here. RJ William is with us. And yes, someday we will do an episode of 3 hours of frying bacon. Be a
That's
lot
going
of
to be our
fun.
best show.
I think we should just do it in the background. It sounds
We
Some
pop
man-
in every 10 minutes and we go, "We'll be right back. Hang on."
We'll be right back. Yeah. Hang on, guys. We'll be right back.
How about that
Speaking
bacon?
of,
Ow.
Speaking of being right back, here's Dr. Ben. Welcome, Dr. Ben.
There you go.
Do we have audio?
Maybe. Can
We
you guys hear
do.
me?
Yes,
We've got audio.
Praise the Lord.
Victory.
Praise,
you're all good.
praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
I don't know what happened. I was trying my iPhone. That's what I usually use on StreamYard.
Apple
Oh,
is
they don't
fueled
like
by
it.
the devil, sir.
Yes.
Apple and StreamYard sometimes do not play along well together.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a manticore sighting this morning.
Manticore.
Good morning, Hail the chat's good to have you here.
Excellent.
Ronan says, "LOL. Okay, I was excited to be first, but I do not see Schism. So I think it was a fluke, and it might be. I don't know, where is Schism.
Yeah, I
We've
see him in
got
the chat.
Sketchy Guy Nevada. Good morning. Good morning. We got J-Bot, Mighty Bot Studios in the house. Hail panel. It's great
J-Bot.
to have you here this morning. Great. And there he is.
Mm-hmm.
There's Schism. Wouldn't be a Thursday morning without him now, would it?
There you go.
Actually, I hate to break it to you, Ronan, but I was here just had the chat, not the chat open. I was here 10 minutes before you.
Yeah, he was here for a while.
And
He-
you have to rub it in.
He beats
yeah.
he beats me to the studio every Thursday morning.
Yeah.
I don't know what time zone he's living in, but I'll be honest with you. He's up late, he's up early. I don't know, man. I roll in about 15 minutes till the bacon start to sizzle, get my stuff ready. I spend all my time getting my articles done days ahead of time, and then the only thing I do is I check, make sure there was no breaking news overnight while I snooze 'em. Sketchy says, "Hey Luke, bacon frying in a loop sounds like those fake fireplace videos, but better. Yes, it is. It is better. Everything's better with a little grease on it, and that's. I'm sorry, I was. Where is it? I gotta get faster on that thing there.
That's what she said.
To both of them. That's. John Apple says all it seems to take to get banned anymore is independent thought. How dare you?
So
how
true.
How dare you have a thought of your own?
Yeah. What would Greta say?
Well, you know what she would say.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Have to have Randy on all the video clips this morning. We're going.
Should I be on top of that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you can stay on that today.
All right.
All right. We got John Slester in the house. Good morning, y'all. It's good to have you here today.
Mr. Celestial.
Amanda Core says I'm blocked by most of the mainstream on Twitter. Does that count as blacklisting?
Yeah.
And yes, it does. It certainly does count as being blacklisted. Let me see. What else do we have going on? We got Marv V in the house. Welcome, Marv V. Greetings, everyone. It's good to have you here today. And of course, we got the fantastic Glenn Fleming. Hey guys, question. How is it that I'm busier now than ever before in my entire career? And I've been busy. So much so.
So much to do, so little time.
Much to do, so little time.
I don't want to say
That's why, Glenn.
But maybe it's because you need to sleep more.
I don't know, man. It's because there's things to do. The clock is winding down on this old Earth. I think, and
older folk.
And well, no, I think in general, and I think for us men who create and have stories to tell, it is, and we see the state of things. We are compelled to tell the stories that will help make the world heal.
I do feel that energy, and
either the other days are getting shorter. I don't know.
That's just winter coming on.
But gentlemen, are you feeling resistance to the kind of stories you want to tell?
Resistance all the time.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Pedro?
No, dude. Like you're trying to tell your story, and then you get a list of an unsolicited list.
Angry. There you go, John. Yeah.
Of things that should be on your story and are not because you don't care about them.
Yeah, I pretty much ignore everybody's lists.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing something that I've never done since I first started with comic books.
But wait.
So,
are you? Not to worry. I have a permit. This just says I can do what I want.
Yep.
Right. I can do what I want.
We all have a permit, folks.
We do. So, so I started early on. I would send out my books to be reviewed. And then I learned really quickly that a lot of these review sites, they were just trying to find negative, and they were just going to blast no matter what it was. Yeah, they were shills for the big two. If you were an independent, they were going to just be nasty, right? And they did it across the board. Books that I thought were good, they did it too.
There used to be a time when they thought that they could level up by doing reviews.
Right.
For these larger social sites like CBR and that.
You know who we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the air.
I'm going to level up. I'm going to kiss their butt, and they're going to love me one day. And now they found out they're too white, too male, too cis, too whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
To ever work for them. Ever.
And you're known evermore as Brown-Nosed Finkelstein for nothing.
Yeah, you're Brown-Nosed Finkelstein. They've played blackface, but they're keeping you out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, come on. Pedro knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
We talk about this. Pedro and I get really worked up about the state of things.
Yep.
And then we just ignore it and go back to work because we have work to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And I have bigger problems.
Exactly.
I do. I've got way bigger problems.
I have a fishmonger to get rid of.
Have that fishmonger to deal with.
That fishmonger story just keeps getting better every day.
Yeah, dude. Like you think it's over, and he comes back with a vengeance.
There's fish everywhere now. It just keeps getting better.
You are the home of the telenovela, anyway.
Telenovela, yeah.
Telenovela.
So he's out having hardcore romance stories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
While he's not pushing fish.
Yeah.
Pedro,
is that code for something? Pushing fish.
Yeah, just I don't know. Like we're insatiable down here, so.
I'm sorry, I'm so
Probably.
immature.
It's the weather.
That's all right.
So we have an actual doctor on the panel today, Dr. Ben.
That's true. That's true.
Good morning, sir.
And I'm just going to make
gentlemen.
as childish as jokes as I can the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would I change a brand, right? There would be no point in that. You're normally in the chat. You know what to expect from me. Now you get to experience it on
firsthand.
this side of things. We are going to be talking with you today because you fall right into our plan.
Yeah.
No, you fall right into what we're dealing with today. You were canceled recently off of a project. You want to tell us about that for real quick?
Well, so I was on this, as a fan project for, we were calling it Giant Size 1963, right? And I don't know if you guys remember there was a series from Alan Moore in the 90s. It was called 1963. That it was made to appear as if it came from the 60s. So anyways, it was never finished. There were 6 issues and there was supposed to be an annual, and it was never finished. And it's been this big...
What if?
Exactly. And so I had a part in that, and and then it was
welcome.
Let's see, what is this? This is Thursday. So it was last week. It was last Thursday actually.
August 18th. Yeah. I saw you post this Thursday afternoon, I think.
Might have been Thursday or Friday, something like that. Because it was just like immediately, and this is the thing, is I had talked with the editors back in the spring as well, because I had put out a mini comic for Free Comic Day, and I sort of made fun of one of the editors because they had been one of the people that was in that crowd that was constantly harassing Eric July.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
It's just a crowd
how
of
dare you? How dare you make a book? How dare you make money on that book without following our plan and our formula? These people are obsessed with that guy.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't get, is why it's so. Is it just because he's successful? I mean, if he didn't sell any comics, would they be?
More people talk about this guy than
there's a lot of reasons.
When did Simpson become our king? I don't know. Why are we paying attention to what he says?
I think it has a lot to do with the ideology that these people espouse entirely. It's a requirement for them to toe do exactly what they do.
Man,
otherwise
weasels. That's exactly what they are.
Yeah, weasels.
It's crazy. So you got canceled. We're going to talk a little bit more about this and get more into detail on this as we get going. But I definitely wanted to kind of introduce you to the crowd. I know they've seen you in the chats. Yeah. You've been there in the comments there with them, and today you're up on the panel. So unfortunately you were a part of this fan project, and then
he asked for me to be removed. This is the other thing, how it kind of crosses over with Don Simpson, is that when I first started on the project, I had asked him if I could use a panel of his on one of my pages, right? Because there's part of the story sequence is the character is going through sort of a multiverse part where there's all these windows into other comic universes, right? So I've got a panel from Don Simpson, right? I had a panel from Don Simpson, and then a few other people, a couple of local friends that I had that do comics. I don't want to put other people on blast and get them mixed up or whatever. But it was like a variety of people that didn't have anything to do with the story, but was just passing through, and you see, like I said, all these different windows into other comic book universes, and
so you got him involved,
right? And he had been involved in the original 1963 series, so that's what I felt it would be a nice kind of show a little respect, or the shout out for him,
Yeah.
and he was down with it. He's like, yeah, that's fine, use a panel, whatever you want to do. And then he
So the old
blogged
guy
about it
Bill,
later.
right?
And I think part of it too is he saw me on another panel, right? There was an interview with Jaime Hernandez that I was part of the crowd, or the people watching or whatever, and I got to ask Jaime a question. And then immediately after me, Don Simpson also asked him a question, and he made a point of saying hi to me. He's like, "Hey, Dr. Ben." And then it must have been about a month or so later, I got this message from one of my other editors, and they were like, "Did you hear Don Simpson wants you to take your pages out with him or whatever?" And I was like, "I didn't hear anything. What are you talking about?" And they thought it was he was just upset that day or whatever, and they're like, it could probably be smoothed out. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't hear anything from the editors of the project. It was the editor that told me this was from something else. So I'm saying it's a
Convoluted and kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So let me ask this: what are you a doctor of, Ben?
Yeah, exactly. That was my question.
Divinity.
Divinity. Oh,
Nice.
He's got an MDiv.
It's got.
Wait. You're not an MDiv, just a doctor, right?
Right, doctor. I pulled this out the other
Ooh,
day.
yeah, the diploma.
Oh, look at
Got
that.
gold on it. That's real gold.
That's special. Hey,
That's special.
Sorry, that was
What
Kind
is
of
that?
flashy. That was kind
show
of
back
flashy.
up there.
Yeah,
Oh, you want me to-
just flash your diploma. Yeah, when it
Yeah, so
doctor
that's-
of the bin. There you go.
Hey, look at
Hey,
So
that.
not a medical doctor at all. It's it's divinity,
Doctor of-
spirituality.
There you go. So you know a few things about the theology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude.
I like to call myself a doctor of the soul.
Doctor of the soul. I like to call myself a soul doctor. So
That's like a funk band, isn't it?
speaking of soul doctor,
Soul Doctor would be a
Doctors
good
of the-
name for it.
let's get into some of the news here this morning.
Yeah.
Bad news: Dan Green passed away.
Oh no.
Dan Green, an artist whose career spanned over 40 years, has died at the age of 70, way too young to pass on.
Mm-hmm.
In the comics world, Green was primarily known as an inker whose work included a lengthy run on Uncanny X-Men. He worked alongside Steve Ditko, George Perez, Jack Kirby, Bernie Wrightson, and Mark Silvestri, among others. I mean, this guy is
Many others.
well known.
Yep.
He was in the
He's-
thick of it.
We're talking about a great ink slinger. I mean, fantastic.
Yep.
Green was born in Detroit in 1952.
Yep.
Right in your neck of the woods, right, Randy?
Oh yeah. Yep.
You ever
a little
meet him?
north of there. Yep. In 2004 interview with the Dr. Doom website, Von Doom, he cited a host of comic artists as influences like Harvey Kurtzman, Wally Wood, Will Eisner, Bernie Wrightson, the whole EC Comics crew in terms of painting and illustration. He was a fan of N.C. Wyeth, Howard Pyle, and the Brandywine School. Excuse me. First credits on work on a comic was a story, The Adventures of Pelota. In DC Comics Tarzan 2013, that was a adaptation of Beyond the Farthest Star, a book that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote. And Tarzan 213, dated October 72. Green did pencils and inks for the story, which was written by Marv Wolfman. He continued his work at DC titles, including The Haunt of Horrors and Star Spangled War stories. On Facebook, former DC president and publisher Paul Levitz remembered Green as, quote, one of the early 70s wave of new youngsters bringing original styles to DC when Carmine Infantino was encouraging experimentation. And editors Joe Orlando, Dick Giordano, and Archie Goodwin were handing out short stories to the then kids. Dan was one of the fresh voices, well suited, I thought, to fantasy work. His worlds looked lush and real, even if unreal events and beings filled them. Around that time, Green married Sandy Zinnemann, a graduate of New York's High School of Art and Design, and a model for fantasy painter Jeff Jones. They met at a New Year's Eve party in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And in 73, they took up residence in Ulster County, New York. Zinnemann died in 2015. In 73, Green made his Marvel debut with Captain Marvel number 28, inking Jim Starlin's pencils. That was the beginning of a lengthy career at Marvel, where he worked with a series of prominent artists on high-profile projects. He's perhaps best known as the inker for Uncanny X-Men for much of its run, including during the era when Chris Claremont was writing the series, and also worked on X-Factor, Wolverine, Thor, and a host of other books. In the 2004 interview, Green said he became an inker because he was a slow penciler. Nonetheless, he cited his run as penciler on Doctor Strange as one of his proudest achievements, alongside his painted illustrations for the 1986 graphic novel, Doctor Strange into Shambhala, and the black and white illustrations that he did for an edition of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven and Other Poems and Tales that was published by Bullfinch Editions in 2001. In addition to comics, Green worked as a fine artist and did several gallery shows of his paintings. In 2003, entitled Simulacrum, and another in 2016 when he and his daughter Galen did a joint exhibit of his paintings and her sculptures at the at the Ruse Arts in Rosendale, New York. Walter Simonson announced the news of Green's passing on Twitter, calling him, quote, a wonderful artist who inked an X-Factor job I penciled. He had a beautiful line that complimented my own work, and I've always been delighted he inked it, unquote. Yeah. Ron Leonardi tweeted that Green was one of the few inkers, perhaps the foremost in my experience, whose work was a true act of translation. He took my scuffling pencil works and brought them with a care and gentleness into the magical world of ink, where they kept their meaning but acquired a grace and elegance they never had in their original language, unquote.
Man, that's high praise.
High praise indeed.
High praise. Wow.
It's a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have, hold on, I think we have here's another health scare. Bone creator Jeff Smith recuperating from cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
Oh. I wonder if that includes lockbox.
I wonder, yeah. Well, I wonder how much of this has to do with the jab for these people, and I wonder how much of it has to do with the stress of working in the industry.
Well, that's the sad thing now with the unpredictability with that so-called vaccination. Is that now whenever somebody has any type of health problem, you're automatically going to go back to, was he boosted?
Yeah, did that have anything to do with it?
Yeah, that boost stuff.
I was thinking, before we skipped on to this article here, I know we've already skipped on, but Randy, do you have a story about Green? Because you knew him personally.
I didn't know him personally, no.
Yeah? Okay.
No, I didn't. I was a big admirer of his work. I noticed his Beyond the Farthest Star stuff in the back of Tarzan, because it looked, in my mind, when I first saw it, I went, is that Murphy Anderson? I said, no, that's Dan Green. Well, that's really interesting. That's pretty cool. And, I've read a lot of stuff that Green has done worked on over the years. So big fan of that material, big fan of him. And he's really one of those people that, because he was a fine artist and wasn't working just solidly in the comic field, especially after a while when these editors shift and change and they feel you're too old or whatever, and you don't get these assignments. He went on. He had other stuff to do. He had fine artwork that he was working on. So, not a whole lot of people today would recognize the name. That's why I thought it was important that we talk about him, because he was part of comics history. Distillery's Devil's Cut has over 50K in orders.
Yeah, Distillery, the company that's trying to save money so much, they failed to buy a vowel.
Yes.
Yeah, store like that.
Yeah, So, looks like they're also got some lettered preview released ahead of August 30 pub date, the new publisher. Distillery revealed today that it is launching publication. The Devil's Cut has orders of over 50,000 from retailers. The 88-page premium format anthology with an MSRP of $10 will be released to comic shops on August 30th, 2023. It was also available at the San Diego Comic-Con in July. Distillery also released the first lettered previews pages from the anthology, which collects 11 short stories by a variety of creators, including Scott Snyder, James Tynion, the fourth, Elsa Chartier, Peach, Momoko, Mark Bernardin, and Jock. Just Jock. The publisher plans to spin 8 of the 11 stories off into a series of their own. Well.
Yeah. It's a great way to introduce people to the stuff that you want to do.
Yeah.
It looks
I just don't like the name.
Looks like we can view a gallery here. Goofy, so this is what you're going to be getting on the inside of this book.
Okay. Very moody.
Very moody.
I like the lighting, yes.
Yeah. Oh, they're doing a little of that new coloring style there.
A little bit of humanoid, European look to it.
Very much. Let's see, what's this got here?
Ooh. Same thing there as well.
Yeah.
The hallway looks familiar.
It looks orange.
Yeah, it's an orange.
There we are. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Nice figure.
Am I kind of off track? 50,000 for Scott Snyder, Jock, Peach Momoko.
That's not a lot. Yeah, that's not a lot.
That doesn't really seem like and that's $10 for the book, so that's what
should be enough for them to buy a few vowels, you'd think.
Yeah. They can afford them now. I mean, that's the new normal, like they said in 2019.
50,000, really, that's about really when you're talking about numbers compared to the industry right now, especially with graphic novels, it's not too far off from what they're currently doing. I do like this page though. I like that with the
there's some nice look there. Nice. Yeah, there's some nice work.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're putting their work in on this thing. It doesn't look bad. That's very painted, cowboy.
Nothing wrong with it.
That was the story. Interesting. That's the real.
That's the whole key, though, isn't it?
No, that's always the question, isn't it?
That is always the
But
question.
they don't really care. They don't normally care too much about the story these days, do they?
You can attract them with the shiny, pretty, but you keep them with the story. Yeah,
exactly. And there's inclusion there. I can see it.
Yeah.
Space Sister.
Pill popping. Nice. What more do you need?
Space Sister.
It's a party. Oh, dude, that's
a party.
Fun 70s style, like future tense stories.
I do like this. I like that one. That's interesting.
Some nice work. Absolutely nice work.
This is nice work. I don't know how I like it for a comic. Yeah, it's nice.
Graphic. Right.
I mean, how they adapt the style to the storytelling, they can make it to work. But I mean,
they could make it to work. They really could. Yeah. I like that one too. I love the colors. Working on that myself. Yes. Awesome. I do like colors. Yeah. Hicksville is in the house. Welcome, Hicksville. We got Dr. Mask. Welcome here today as well. So we got 2 doctors in the house. Welcome, Doctor.
Hello, Doctor. Colonel Doctor.
Randy, John, and I remember the actual year 1963. Never mind comic about it.
Yeah. I wasn't even a project in '63.
Wasn't even a twinkle.
Hicksville would like to know if Scott Snyder had a hit outside of Batman. He seems to have had 100 different stories out there, but nothing sticks.
Yeah, he's doing the macaroni thing.
He's doing his best, guys.
Yeah.
He's trying.
That's the thing. I mean, this is one of the things
I
like about
Distillery's happy they hit 50K. Let's celebrate that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's good. It's good that they did that.
What I wanted to say is that's one of the things that I like and hate about animators, because you have like great artists that are completely anonymous. Mm-hmm. In comic books, you have great artists, but some people think too highly of themselves. And I say, like, who's the famous one? Scott Snyder or Batman?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Batman's the famous one.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. Like, some people develop this attitude, like they're holier than thou, and that's what happened to Mister Doctor Ben down here. That we're listening to people who are just people. She has an amazing career, whatever. He's an artist. He's a person just like me. Why are you kicking me out of a project because somebody said something? Unless it's a real accusation, like, I don't know, like you have dead babies in jars in your fridge. Like, whoa, okay, maybe I don't want to work with you, but just because I don't like him, dude, come on, that's stupid.
I've never been a person to respect fame in any way, shape, or form.
True that.
Yeah, they're all people.
Yeah.
I think I heard. Oh, go ahead.
No.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say. I think I was listening to Ethan one day, and he was talking about like he was like looking around at like the comic convention and realizing, everyone it's like a flea market. Everyone's got a folding chair, their table with their stuff, and everyone acts like it's like the red carpet at Hollywood or whatever, and it's like
like they're Clark Gable or something.
It's just comics. Just calm
down. They definitely, it's
Bud Liquor, our prices have never been lower.
But yet they act like, but they act like they're hot crap. I'm hot crap.
They think they're Barbara, but they're not.
Right. Yeah, and they just smell like hot crap. That's all it is. American Booksellers Association and others support Amazon antitrust action. So the American Booksellers Association, the Authors Guild, and the Open Markets Institute has sent an open letter urging the FTC to continue to pursue antitrust actions against Amazon. Today, the free exchange of ideas is impeded and warped by opaque algorithms and sales practices controlled by Amazon and permissed on which publishers and or authors is willing and able to pay the highest extortionary tax to get their book promoted on Amazon's website. I'll be honest with you, that's capitalism, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just upset because they're they're just upset because they're
not the one calling the shots. That's why
DEI scores and helping them out.
Well, it's the exact same thing about these social platforms running their own algorithms and deciding to ban people for next to nothing reasons. Or it's just this is the way Amazon does business. It's the way Walmart does business, and they've set a bad example for capitalism in general ever since they really came into power about strong arming smaller producers. And
look, they got a billion books on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, they can't just sift through and try to be fair to everybody. There's got to be something in place to say, here's how you get moved to the top of this list, and you're going to get lost in it.
You get folks in there wanting and demanding preferential treatment because they pull down higher percentages than the little guy. The little guy's always going to get stepped on. That's why I always warn folks that depend on one platform or another that as soon as these platforms realize that you're making a living, they're going to slam you and change their rules.
Yep.
We've seen it over and
never going to financially recover from this.
And that's the thing, like, is Amazon in charge of your marketing? I don't think so.
They're not. No. See, that's where you look. You've got to work within the system of these things. We're little guys who've been working within the system of this crap for how long?
They are in charge of your visibility and flow.
They are.
Yeah, but the thing's if
they decide that you're out of stock, suddenly you're out of stock, whether whether you've got books or not.
But that's different, though. That's different. But the thing is, like, if you make yourself known through other means to Amazon, and you just deliver traffic to Amazon, they might appreciate that if it becomes that big.
But
you know what I mean?
It's the same as a lot of these larger these crowdfunding platforms deciding to ban and shadow ban people. It's
exactly.
You get a couple of yahoos up there that think that they know better, or that they think that they're politically motivated to play God, and suddenly you're not going to be making money, and you have to go out and figure out a way to get around the system.
Exactly, like we're trying to do here.
So I don't know how I feel about this one right here. So this is a letter pointed to several cases where Amazon used its powers as the largest book retailer and therefore the largest wholesale buyer to force publishers into, including Macmillan and Hachette, to comply with its terms. So they said, no, we're going to buy a bunch of books. And the publisher said, okay, I guess here's the price or whatever. They said, nah, we're not going to pay that price. We're going to do it this way. So is the customer always right? I don't know how that works. I mean,
I don't know.
That's what Diamond's did to comic books, to the publishers.
That's exactly what they did. Yep.
That's exactly what Diamond did to the publishers.
That was far from legal.
No, it's not legal. I mean, it's been happening. You know, but it happens to, a couple of publishers.
Let alone ethical or moral.
Yeah, exactly. It's not illegal, but it's not ethical either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I mean, the way I see this, they have their rules. The thing is, like, dude, it's been shown, like it happened to Bud Light, that if you piss people enough, then they're going to find other ways to get drunk. Or to
That's what it is, yep.
So, dude, feel free. Like, see, if Indiegogo and Kickstarter didn't do what they did, Fund My Comic wouldn't be here.
Right.
You know what I mean? We just have to be patient and work on our stuff. Oh, that's what you want? Hey, it's not good for me. See you when I see you.
There is one thing this story does show. It shows that the novel side of things, the prose publishers out there, have a lot more fight in them than comic book publishers.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they understand the business and the law a little bit better than maybe some publishers do. That's why they just kind of bent over to the whim and will of Diamond for so long.
Well,
and now they're starting to fight back too, though.
Part of the problem with the industry, he said in air quotes, is that they've been Pavlovianly trained over the years. They have to follow Diamond's rules. They can't get outside of the system. Well, and as soon as you prove you can make good money outside of the system, then you're ridiculed and banned and whatever, labeled with who knows what. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Like an ingrate. Yeah,
we'll get
like an
that
ingrate, like you owe them something. Yeah.
Amazon continues.
Amazon has more avenues of or outside of Amazon, there's more avenues of publishing than
they get books.
But when you strong arm your way into an industry like this, and you become the leader in the industry by far, and you've blown out all of your second and third tier, so that all are left are the fourth or fifth tier distributors, then you start making your own rules or taking bribes or making hoops for people to jump through, like Amazon and Diamond.
Doing exactly what they're doing right now.
It's just that I can't say it's illegal because they can get away with it. They're a private company. They can do what they want, but it's not ethical or moral. Especially,
it's very easy for them to say, "Look, you don't have to do business with Amazon."
Exactly.
That's but who else is there to do business with? Right?
Hey,
that's the thing.
Why did Brandon Sanderson make $24 million selling it over Kickstarter? Okay, writers don't need Amazon. They have to be good enough, market themselves enough. If people want their books, they're going to find a way to get their books, whether it's Amazon or not. Like, the algorithm is blocking me. No, you don't want to put yourself out there.
Look, you just have to be dedicated enough to get out there and to do it. Yeah,
there's a lot of avenues to publish or get your books into people's hands
promote,
outside of these guys.
Yeah, this is a new era, man. Come on, baby.
Well, Amazon wasn't even a thing for many years, wasn't it?
No, dude. Amazon was Jeff Bezos in a garage with a huge Amazon vinyl thing printed behind him. Amazon.
And again, they took their marketing strategy from the same people the Walton family did when they created Walmart. And a lot of that's in strong arming and changing their rules like this, making people comply to their whims, which gives them the better share of the profit or the ease in making that profit. Once they became the top dog. There's that big documentary out there that's rather infamous of the Walmart executives running through the town that a new Walmart is coming in, driving through downtown and pointing at different businesses and betting on how long they're going to last now that Walmart's in town. 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, 6 months, they're gone in 3. That kind of thing. And that because they're the top dog, they make their own rules and they're allowed to get away with it.
Dude, that's the thing. They take advantage of. They're weaponizing convenience.
Yeah.
Same thing with Patreon. Before Patreon, people would get payouts to themselves directly to their website. Then Patreon came about. You don't have to set up anything. we are gonna be like we're recognizable. We are like it's so
It's a
easy.
convenience tax.
Yeah,
is
dude,
what it is.
it's
Yeah.
a convenience tax. And dude, like as a customer, I'm at fault at this, and as a producer and creator, I'm at fault too. Like I'm not gonna say like it's from both sides. Some people like I don't want to give you money directly. I'd rather do it to Patreon because I trust Patreon. Patreon is screwing everybody over, canceling everybody because now they feel they're indispensable. It's the same thing that's happening here with Amazon and with all these huge companies.
Yep.
They come in selling convenience, and then they think they're almighty and powerful and they can do what they want.
Yep.
They do what we want because we let them. So, dude, just stop.
True. Yeah.
Yes, weaponized convenience. I love it. John says direct marketing is the only way to survive as an indie comics creator. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know that I agree with that so much. No crowdfunding platform is a reliable way to reach readers. I don't necessarily agree with that either. It's only to raise money, save your money, and print a small run. I do agree with that. It is a way to raise money. You need to find ways to, because crowdfunding marketing and long-term marketing for like a storefront, completely different tactics, completely different ways about going to do that. I think a lot of people they get so used to the crowdfunding marketing that, hey, let's make the hype for this one event. And then in order to keep long-term sales going, they've got to do another one and a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance. And it just turns into this big, log flob kind of situation where it gets out of hand. People don't understand the difference between those two. I do believe that you need to direct market. And when you're talking about direct marketing, are you talking about direct marketing to the fan or direct marketing to stores? Because currently when you talk about direct market, that is through like an avenue like Diamond. Those avenues are good, but right now we're in an age where you do not have to go through a retailer. And if a retailer doesn't want to sell your stuff or work with you or play nice, you can go directly to your fans and you can have a hard-lined relationship with them. And if that's what you're talking about, then I agree entirely with you, John. Because especially with a book like yours, that niche, you need to have that direct relationship with that fan all the time.
And need that rapport. That's the thing. Like we need rapport. We need constant communication.
When he says every time you start a new crowdfunding campaign, you will start from zero readership supporters. No, you will not. Not if you do it right. And that is where a lot of people in the crowdfunding model fail. Let me explain this, okay? So
look at Dave Brink, for example, with Perfect 10.
Perfect 10.
Yeah, you need newsletters. Okay, so listen here. A lot of people will make mistake. You know how many times I get people to ask for a sign-up page for Fund My Comic? Because that's why they start over at zero every time. Because you're having Kickstarter do your sign-up. You're having, or the green site do your sign-up. You're having the pink site do your sign-up. If you would create your own landing page, gather your own emails, it doesn't matter where you launch, it doesn't matter where you sell, you tell them, doesn't matter where you're selling that stuff, you tell the customer directly because you have their email. If your main marketing is Twitter and you get banned today, you got to start over with marketing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ethan. If your main marketing is YouTube and you get banned today, sorry, game over, business done. If you are on Kickstarter and they tell you, no, you cannot use those emails to tell them about your next book, done, starting from zero. Same way with the pink site. But if you are collecting those from a landing page, so over $100,000 was raised for Battle Brick Road. There is a landing page for sign up that Eric Weathers has for Battle Brick Road 2. You go to battlebrickroad.com, you sign up for his book. You know he's launching on 3 different sites, and it doesn't matter because you're going to go to his link, and then you're going to choose which platform you want to back on. You don't have to worry about it. It is, and yes, the newsletters are overlooked. You've got to have that regular communication with them. Maybe you don't need to send one a week, one every day, maybe one every 2 weeks. Definitely no less than one a month.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll fall out of their rotation. It's you've got to, and then you have to figure out analytics. Email marketing is not sexy. It's not. It is the least sexy form of marketing. YouTube is sexy. TikTok, Twitch, all that stuff is sexy, but email marketing is not. But it is by far the best return on investment that you can possibly.
But you can make it sexy though. I know you can do it in your underwear.
That's what I was gonna say. I put my pics in.
Yeah, splash some water on you.
Bust out the coconut oil, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Bingo.
Oh, you silly, simple bastard.
John, you got it. Bingo.
Yep.
When you go to Fund My Comic, you're paying convenient tax because we're handling all of the hot legal stuff and we're handling all of the hard coding stuff. You use a platform for crowdfunding because it's hard as hell to set up a campaign tracker on unless you know some coding. And if you would happen to get banned, that's why people use these things. That's why they use those things. It's convenience, and it's because we've done a lot of that work. That's why people use Patreon. Yeah. We just said it. That's why they're using Amazon and not selling direct through crowdfunding, because crowdfunding requires more work than selling through Amazon, because you expect Amazon to algorithm the crap out of you to sell your book, right?
Yeah.
There's so many videos out there about these set it and forget it type businesses. Here, use AI to make a coloring book and you can make $1 million, because nobody wants to do any work. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. Everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to do any damn work these days.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop preaching. I'm going to stop preaching.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you say, I make your book. They don't tell you that you can't copyright anything made from AI. So, who's the fool here?
But, I mean, there's people out there because people want to make money fast.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So they go to Amazon to sell, and people flock over there, and then Amazon tells them, you've got to do it my way.
Dude, and the thing is, like, the only way to, well, at least I'm talking Latin American now, but the only way to make money fast is selling drugs. And
that's in America too.
Yeah, dude, you'll end up getting shot while having a shawarma if you do that. So
Amazon continues to use strong arm tactics to force publishers to agree to its onerous contract terms and conditions, including extra fees and penalties for those who promote competing platforms. The letter alleges, adding that this also hurts creators as they earn lower royalties on books that are deeply discounted because the number of other bookstores has plummeted. The letter adds Amazon has an oversized power to control what readers see when browsing for books. We ran into this with the other things, so we created our own. That's why
comes the fishmonger.
That's why
he got a different pickup.
He got a new pickup.
Story continues.
The saga continues.
Pedro's getting his bazooka.
So goes the drama. But that's what. So look, I understand. Don't promote other platforms. I get it. Don't promote other platforms. In our Discord, it's for the gold site. If you promote the pink and green, I say, look, don't you? It's in poor taste. Why would they want you on their platform promoting another one?
Right.
Of course not. That makes sense. I'll be like, it's not fair. Why can't I direct all the sales from? Why can't I use your algorithms for sales and direct them to my website? Well, I don't know, because I'm the one that invested the money to get it started, to make it happen. Man, I'm off today, man. Look at me. I'm going.
Yeah. It has a new pickup and it's red.
One of the things, because you can run like a dual campaign with Fund My Comic, right? Like that's. Yeah. So that's one of the things I was thinking the other day, because I know what you're talking about. I'm in the Discord too. You see someone come in, hey, I've got a project on Indiegogo. Like, I feel like the best thing to have would be to be like, oh, okay, well, this is how you can migrate your campaign over to Fund My Comic. That's cool. You have it on Indiegogo, but bring it over here as well. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be an either or approach, and I think that's the way.
You can definitely use both, right?
Yeah, that's the way to look at anything with comics. Is you don't have to say, I'm just going to focus. I'm only going to try and get into comic stores, or I'm only going to do crowd funds, or I'm only going to sell at comic conventions. You know,
Dude,
like,
I need a hug.
you got to have a multi.
I want to talk about John said the newsletter should have content that has value.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People don't understand content marketing these days. It is about creating value. Everybody just wants to throw their links out. There's somebody, I'm not going to name his name, but people may be able to figure it out by context clues. So there was a fellow that who's really complaining that I'm now on my third campaign that I'm running, and no one's backing me. I don't understand. I don't know why anybody's backing me. And I was like, well, if you want, I can give you a really honest assessment of why that might be the case, but only if you want. Let me know, and we'll talk about it privately. Because people don't want to hear that their approach is off. Again, it's how can I get the least amount of action with the least amount of work, the most amount of action with the least amount of work. And it's difficult, but you're right, John. You've got to create content, things of value, and your book is not your content. And you've got to prove that you create value based on the free stuff that you offer people, these ideas. And I think that people should crowdfund and then move to their own website. And if they don't have the resources to do that, that's why I created the storefront option. So you can run your business from Fund My Comic if you really, really need to. Right? But ultimately, I don't want just everybody always crowdfunding. That sounds really weird coming from a guy that owns a crowdfunding website, right? It just doesn't make any sense for the business. But that's why I've created other businesses for direct distribution, things like that, because in order for us to be successful, we can't put all of our eggs into one singular basket.
Yes.
They did that with Amazon. Now Amazon holds the keys.
Yep.
Right? Now they're screwed.
The retailers did it with Diamond. Look how that worked for them.
It's not, you're going to continue to have this problem every time you just completely, and I love it when people say they're all in with Fund My Comic. I get it. Yes, please be all in for the crowdfunding process, but let's move people into, and eventually we're going to take away your opportunity to own the mailing list on Fund My Comic. Right now it's worked into our terms of service that you can embed a mailing list sign up and redirect them to another site from ours. But eventually we're going to do away with that because,
of course,
because that's what the Pink and Green site do. If you use that email for anything other than that singular campaign, you're banned. That's why people are getting shadow banned. That's why people are getting kicked off. That's why a lot of this comes down to how they control that connection to the customer or to the backer. Everybody wants control. And I think we all should have control of our own readers, of our own customers.
I mean, and there are services that are dedicated only for mailing lists. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe use those and don't expose yourself. If you're using somebody else's tools and you're in somebody else's backyard, feel entitled to things that you're getting for free. That makes no sense. So dude, if you want to own your mailing list, you sell to the 3 platforms, use a service that's not in direct contact with any of the 3 platforms, and you won't be.
Man, it's so easy to set up a landing page on MailChimp so that you can gather emails, and then you can change the tags on the landing page so that when they sign up, it tags them for this campaign or that campaign. And that way you know where they came in at and what they came in for.
Exactly.
It's the tools are there. It's so easy to do. And then it's very easy to transition into your own storefront on a Squarespace or a Wix site. And man, that's really where I think people need to try to go with that. And I do think that there's some value to centralized websites or centralized markets. But there's so many ways to do that now. But the truth is, what if you get banned off of Global Comics and you can't sell your digitals anymore?
Yeah,
What if you
dude,
get banned off of Webtoons because they don't like your politics?
or tapas,
Or
which is
tapas, what happens?
it's a very funny name in Spanish.
It's what's happening to the mainstream.
Yeah.
You know, oh, we don't, you know, it's why these people are, it's why Comicsgate exist.
Yeah,
exactly.
Speaking of, here's some funny stuff. So
It's
disgruntled
funny,
CBR employee hijacks official Twitter account, publicly accuses outlet of becoming an AI-driven clickbait-focused content mill.
That was
I
funny.
see no cap here. I see no cap here.
In a move that speaks volumes to the present state of the entertainment media ecosystem, a disgruntled comic book resources employee recently used their access to the outlet's official Twitter account to deliver a scathing condemnation of its current leadership direction. It's so funny. The chain of events that prompted the employees' rebellion first began in May when CBR's parent company, Valnet Incorporated, laid off the outlet's senior features editor, Christopher Baguette, senior news editor, Stephen Girding, and editor-in-chief, Adam Swiderski. But I'll be honest with you, these guys were not doing a great job, as it were. CBR will be undergoing major structural changes related to turning the corner on both culture and performance, said Valnet content director George Edelman in announcing the trio's forced exit. As a result, certain roles no longer exist, and we are focusing on individuals who can create a more positive culture going forward.
Do you have the original tweet?
Yeah, we'll get to it.
I'm looking
However,
for it.
despite Valnet's claim that these staffing changes were made in services of sparking a new or more positive company culture with CBR, supposed insiders who allegedly spoke to The Beat informed the outlet that those removed were actually standing up for writers. And Swiderski, Girding, and Baguette pushing back against more changes along the lines of what Puck reported. So fast forward, we'll get down here to this tweet. So here's a series of tweets. Tweeting about his release on June 26, Schroer would negatively note that he had a Mill Lion story that could be told about the past month and Valnet, though ultimately chose to keep them close to his chest. So he says, I got something I could say, but I'm not going to do it. And then you got Emily here who tweets, after 3 years I've been let go from CBR. I started as a weekend news editor and left as the lead news editor. I may have more to say later, I don't know. I obviously have a pre-written statement prepared for this exact scenario, but I don't want to deal with it right now. So we've got a lot of people that are just disgruntled. Fired Arc says, after 4 years editing and writing for CBR, my position and department were eliminated by parent company Valnet today in their pivot away from news and towards being a content mill. They've spent months hiring people and restructuring, so it wasn't a huge surprise, but still a blow. John says, no, CBR has not eliminated its news section. He's trying to say, no, it hasn't, but here we go. Despite rumors to the contrary, we have not eliminated our news section. We simply fired all the news editors who didn't resign in protest and have been slowly gutting our other departments as Valnet continues CBR's shift to an AI-driven, clickbait-focused content mill.
Nice. Very good. I actually welcome that,
What a great troll, man. I love it.
Full transparency.
Yeah, full transparency.
But you know what? I think the era of the sarcastic, oh, I am so random writer, that era is coming to an end. Like, people are just tired. Like,
hopefully.
what good CBR article have you read in the last 4 years? They brought this onto themselves, man. So I don't know. I can't really feel sorry for them. It's just like, whatever. It's what happened. What you get.
Yeah.
Learn the code.
Eventually responding to the PR nightmare, Arvidon asserted in a now deleted tweet per a description provided by Bleeding Cool, quote, if I was an F King clown who suddenly found myself, and I can't read that, a lot more free time on my hands, I'd probably do this too. Well played.
At least he's got. If I was an effing clown,
sincerity, man.
You might be an effing clown. As of writing that, is CBR North Valentine. Well, they cut out the UK, so he
that
actually
happens
said the
way
full
too
word.
often. Just ask Glenn.
Yeah.
I kind of agree a bit with Pedro on this
Hey-yo.
one. Like a lot of these guys could have stood up at some point and long before all this stuff happened and had some like basic moral fiber and said, maybe we shouldn't be douchebags.
Ah, dude, it's so cool to own people and make money by owning people. Ha 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 ha. There you go.
Yeah.
You reap what you sow, baby.
Oh man, and the state of this comic book industry. Oh my goodness. Mark Millar claims comic book industry is in the worst state it's ever been, suggests comic book legends return to DC and Marvel in order to save it.
That'll happen.
Wow, Einstein.
But there's a problem with that. Many of those legends have been kicked out.
Yeah.
Notice he hasn't told him to try to get into Netflix.
Dude, most of those legends are white. What are you talking about,
Because that's
Mark?
where he made all his
Well,
money.
look at this. Look at some of the legends that made it. You've got Mike Barron, Blacklisted, cannot go work over there because of the dreaded CG moniker. Ethan Van Sciver, one of the best artists that ever worked on some of their runs, Blacklisted because of the
R.T. Bear,
crap.
Graham Nolan.
R.T. Bear, Graham Nolan, Aaron Lopresti. The list goes on and
It's as
on.
if you're making them sew a star on their jacket and sit in restricted building
Dixon.
ordinance places and thrown into camps because of their beliefs, and yet they want to call
Dr. Mask and I had the
all
same
of
thing
them
come to mind at the same
hateful
time.
N-words. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they're talking about those guys. They're probably talking about other people that are, telling the line as well. They could
Other
probably
legends that are dead.
It's
Who else is there?
A whole list of people that have been dismissed because the editors up there have decided their styles are too nostalgic. They're too old and they're being forced to move on.
They're too
those
expensive. So comic book writer
and I'm
Mark
gonna say
Millar.
they're too old. They're too old and
They wanna
too
live
white.
away.
Okay, I'm gonna say it. It's, to
You'll
me,
say it
that's
for
the
me?
most ridiculous thing. Like they're too old and they're too white.
Comic book writer Mark Millar, known for his Superman, Red Sun, Civil War, Wanted, and Kingsman stories, recently posited that the comic book industry is in the worst state it's ever been, and proceeded to share his idea on how to save it. During an appearance on the Thinking Critical channel, Millar confirmed his previously announced return to DC for a Superman story, and then quickly segued into posting his ideas that at least 20 comic book legends should return to both DC and Marvel to do a minimum 2-year run in order to save the comic book industry. Millar stated, "There's something weird going on right now where I really feel like guys like me and guys who worked in the industry for a while and been very lucky had a lot of big books and everything, and then we've got to man the stations."
Look at that! Look at that related comment. Go scroll a bit, right there. That's what it is.
Dude, the thing is, like, I don't know, like I hear Miller's statement, and I'm listening to that like Globetrotter song, Sweet Georgia Brown, because he's tiptoeing around the main reason why nobody's there. And I was like, yeah, like people like they're not, because they're not gay enough, they're not ethnic enough, and they don't walk on the same block steps politically.
Heaven forbid you vote for the wrong candidate.
Yeah. So he's just like
they're too Republican to work. They're too Republican to come back and work. He said the retailers, they're struggling out there. They're dying. All my friends and retailers are saying that it's never been. They've never known it as hard as it is right now. Millar then further elaborated on his idea to bring comic book legends back, and I was like, okay, let's get Oliver Copiel, Pepe Larraz, and who? Yeah. And we go and do a Captain America and Wolverine run of something. Everyone's got to come back and 2 runs, And if 20 big name writers and 20 big name artists do that, you've got an amazing couple of years of comic books. We need to get something like that going again. You want to see some excitement at Marvel and DC. Well, here's the other problem that I've got.
You'll never get that past their editors.
Yeah, and he's talking about, Mark Millar or Todd McFarlane, right, Spider-Man, explaining, because that's the book it needs to be. Of course, everybody knows that. But the problem is, here's the issue that I also have with this. A lot of these guys are making way better livings on their own, doing their own independent properties.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Disney and Warner Brothers really care about the publishing arm whatsoever.
Not at all.
That's another question too. Like, even if you brought these people back, would Disney strong arm them into going the same direction they've always gone? Like they want to turn the company around, but then the parent company's like, nope, you have to do the woke.
I don't know what kind of quality shift they would get anyway, because the old rules still apply. You create something in a Marvel book, Marvel owns it.
Right, yeah. Well, look, so this article is from this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to listen to what he says here. Because
I have a suggestion, Luke, though.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be tiptoeing like that, can we have this song as you read it?
I can't hear it at all.
You can't?
Nope.
No.
Okay, sorry. Never mind. I'm gonna send it your way, but we need like Sweet Georgia Brown, because these guys are dribbling around the topic.
From there, Millar returned to his idea to save the industry and noted that the current output from the companies are just not good. Everybody needs to go back and do 1 or 2 more projects, I think, and I'm going to try and get my friends to do this over the next couple of years.
Maybe
try
it
to
should
get
all
some
be set to
excitement going.
bongos.
Yeah, obviously there's some great books. There's 2 or 3 good books, I think, at DC right now, but you need 20 good books.
Do you think they're going to let him do this?
No, they're not. No, it's not going to happen. And it's only going to get worse. More people are going to get blacklisted as things go.
They might, because he's rich.
Probably.
And he's got a reputation outside of the comic media.
I mean, he'll be better off doing his own thing. That's what I mean. Like, he's rich. Hey, set up an awesome company with your money and go the Eric July way.
That's too hard.
More millions.
It's too hard.
Let me make a comment about his comment here. Millar continued, and you can go back and look at all these other periods in history. Look at the 90s. Look at the 80s. Look at the 60s. There were so many books that I couldn't afford to buy all the books I wanted to buy. Well, let me say this. Right now, that's the case with crowdfunded books.
Yep.
There are so many good books. I can't afford to buy all of them that I want to.
Preach it out.
That's so true.
That's true.
That's it. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yep, it is.
And here's part of the problem, okay? So look at this. Here's another article we didn't get to last week. This is an older article. Dark Horse Comics writer Christoph Bogax says you can't have a career in mainstream comics and be part of Comicsgate. Well, right now, there's a lot of people that voted for Trump that got knocked out because of a whisper network, and we'll look at that here in a little bit. They got knocked out because of a whisper network, and so the only thing they could do was make comic books for these fans that they called Comicsgate because they didn't like the content that was being made. And we'll talk about that here in a second too, right? No. So let's first talk about this guy's comments. He makes a tweet. It worries me how many new creators think they can be part of Comicsgate and still have a career in mainstream comics.
In a whinier voice.
It worries me how many new creators think that they can be part of Comicsgate and still have a career in mainstream comics.
See, he doesn't even have the fortitude, putting it nicely, to spell this thing out. Because they know it would come up in the algorithms and people would find it and complain to him about it. So he has to use a little asterisk thing through there in order to avoid the exact
the guy
name.
looks like a dweeb.
Yeah, dude. And the thing is, like, be a part of career in mainstream comics. Like, dude, we have...
Other creators and editors aren't going to hire anyone associated with a group responsible for abusing them and their coworkers. Yeah. See, I will be honest with you. There was a moment when there was some abuse. There's this group called War Campaign that literally will go around to any movement and attach themselves to it just because they want to fight. They're the trolls that got a hold of the Canadian thing. They're stuck with the trucker thing right now. That's what they've jumped on, right? So Chris Bogat says this. This is real literal advice I had to give an indie creator who was surprised to hear Comicsgate was controversial. Don't act dumb. It's effing obvious that what the movement is about. No one is going to buy what you simply didn't know. And, that's not what the movement is. This is, it's about protesting political discrimination in comic books.
That's a typical uneducated opinion.
Right.
Not only that, it's like an underhanded, not a warning, but it's a menace. Like they're trying to tell you, like, hey, watch out, like. Dude, and why would I want to work in a plantation? If I want to work in a plantation to be a slave and pick up like plantain or whatever, I have plantations right here.
Randy, can you keep an eye on the chat for me? Make sure I don't miss anything that's important.
Yeah. Are you missing anything? Agent
I don't
Zero's
know.
going crazy here.
Yeah. If it's something you really need to say, you might need to super chat us. You might need to flip us the bird.
Yeah, which is nice.
Magazine.
All right.
Chuck Dixon. It's pronounced Miller. It's pronounced Millar.
Millar.
He wants it to be Miller. Most prolific comic writer in history. Okay. Anyway.
All right.
Don't get me started.
14 years ago.
He's as good as Kirk.
What I was going to say too.
Ideas.
Oh, I don't want.
Go ahead.
Terrible.
14 years ago.
Have been some of the most friendly, helpful people. Exactly, John. Exactly.
Oh, right. Wow.
John has a good point there.
Ben, what were you saying?
What he had said in that first tweet from the fellow there talking about Comicsgate, saying how people aren't going to hire you because these people abuse or harass people, or essentially they're saying that people in Comicsgate create a hostile work environment, right? It's essentially what he's trying to say.
Right. Yeah.
But Luke, I know that you're a Christian as well, right?
Yeah.
How does it feel anytime you go through, a forum or a chat or something, and you see people just tearing down your beliefs?
It doesn't feel good.
No. I mean, we're supposed to expect that as Christians, that we'll be hated. But to see that,
I've got people that
we're
will
facing as well. Is that that hostile environment because of having, whether it's you're a Christian, whether it's you're a Republican, a libertarian like Eric July.
I have
who wants to go.
I have people that are into comic books that have friended me on Facebook, and when I share one of my personal beliefs, they never engage with anything I ever do, but they make a point to disagree or to belittle me for my beliefs.
Yeah. So
right. That's
terrible.
Yeah, that's what we deal with, right?
Dude, I play metal, man, and I've seen more animosity against Christianity in comic books than in the metalhead community.
Right. Yeah, the metalheads, most of them are like, do what you want to do, right?
Yeah, believe what you want to believe, man.
So 14 years ago, over on Comic Vine, this is a forum, and people started having this conversation about superheroes being political, and it was a pretty good conversation. Mostly, they said that they were that they seemed apolitical. Then some people made some points that they thought that some of them were political, and I mean, obviously, Captain America did, and there were some political moments, in comic books, but it was normally the politics was about being American and being human decent, some human decency. Sometimes social justice was involved in there. I do know that some of the social justice themes were in Claremont's X-Men. We understand that, but he masked his feelings about inclusivity in a story. It was about the story first, and some of those views came through, and it worked organically. But the conversation here it kind of goes that some things there were some politics, but it was never really a left or right thing. It was more about being American. No, it wasn't really like party propaganda.
Well, back then also, they were more concerned with sales. So they were middle of the road constantly because they knew if they went too political in one direction or another, they were alienating a large section of their audience.
Yeah.
Republicans buy sneakers too, man.
Yeah, well, I know they talk a little bit about Wonder Woman in here. Now, Wonder Woman is a fun case because everyone thinks she's a patriotic character. She's not. She's actually a
Greek.
Yeah, like she's a fetish. Like she was created as a fetish character.
Wonder Woman has such an amazing origin. There have been books and movies written about it. If you really go in and explore it, it really gets crazy. It does.
So this was 14 to 13 years ago.
There's been enough time go by for it to be totally misunderstood. Same thing with Captain America. Comics really started out as political editorial platforms through editorial cartoons.
Yeah.
And merged from there, became entertainment, went centralized, became mainstream. And so all of that politics was for the most part dropped out. Then the Comic Code Authority came in and reinforced that all of the politics and 3/4 of the creativity got ripped out of comics in general and weren't allowed to be part of it in the mainstream. That's why you had the rebellion you had with the underground movement, the black and white magazines of the 70s and 80s, and you saw the art form grow out of that, despite the fact that the Code Authority was sitting there trying to stagnate the art form for a good 20 years or so. Eventually,
For the children,
eventually it broke out once everybody realized it wasn't just kiddie literature.
Yeah.
And you had people like Moore come in. You had folks like Denny O'Neil talking about social issues in Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Spider-Man.
Doing drugs,
doing drugs because they were asked to address the problem by the Food and Drug Administration. Once they did it, then they got in trouble with the code. So Stan, went to Uncle Martin and says, "Hey, we're getting this problem." Martin said, "Just drop the stamp. Do the story anyway. Screw them."
Yeah, just get rid of it. Say this one's.
So that was it. Yeah.
So this was sparked because people were feeling like comic book characters were starting to get too political, right? So this was 14 years ago that this was happening.
Yeah.
Can I interject for a second because I wanted to touch on Randy's point. If I'm not mistaken, comics have been a thing like all the way back to Tammany Hall, like early
the 1800s, 1700s.
Yeah.
Well, really, it sprung out of the fact that the newspapers couldn't print photographs. And so they started putting line drawings in the paper. Once they did that, they found out they sold more papers. And then they found out if they drew that politician in a humorous manner,
the caricatures and stuff.
Caricatures and stuff. They drew the Democrat guy as a donkey and the Republican dude as an elephant. Suddenly, they sold even more papers.
Yep.
And even the politicians back then were almost cartoonish in a sense too, because you talked about Tammany Hall.
Yeah.
They were like beating people up.
I speak softly and carry a big stick.
Well, once they figured out you could put words and pictures together, and they started telling stories, and then it became entertainment. And you had all these comic strips instead of editorial. You had the editorial cartoons on the editorial page, and they started devoting entire pages to just comic strips that were entertaining. And some of those were adventure strips, and that's really where modern comics came out of, was those adventure strips, even though you hardly see any of them anymore. There's like Prince Valiant and Dick Tracy still around in the newspapers. Those predate comics by a long margin. But the comics would have never been put on the stands if they didn't need to keep the presses wet in the first place between them printing editions of the newspaper.
You got to keep it wet.
They had to keep those presses wet. That's what she said.
Bazinga.
They had to keep those presses wet, so they decided to take the most popular part of the newspaper and print it into books, stick it out on the newsstand, and see if they could sell it for a dime. That's really the start of the entire comic book industry. Then it started selling millions, and things went crazy from there. But all of these executives up there, since they started out doing reprints, comics were always looked at as a substandard form of production and publishing, as a communication art form. They were always looked down upon, and it's just carried on and evolved even worse throughout the ages, at least here in the States. You get out of this country, you get off of this continent, and comics are looked at as high art. You have people like Mobius and that are looked at as incredibly fine artists that did sequential art.
Don't come to Latin America, Randy.
So like some of the chat here, they're saying like comics have all like the argument I hate, or comics have always been political. Like I hate that rebuttal, upside down smiley face. You can tell stories about politics without getting into the modern, without preaching about it. And some of the greatest stories ever told are about political intrigue and all that stuff, of different like universes and that sort of thing. But you don't have to inject modern politics into it.
It's not even that. You don't have to beat people over the head with it.
Exactly.
If you do it and do it skillfully enough, people don't even notice you're giving them a message. That's why you've got shows like Twilight Zone and Star Trek that have huge followings. Out there, very politically opinionated.
Well, but you can also refer directly to to political things. Like there's wars, like World War II. There's politics going on, obviously, but there's war as well. But like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to beat them over the head with it. It doesn't have to be specifically about pushing an agenda.
Well, World War II was kind of a big exemption because the guys were overseas. The people that were fighting the war needed something to entertain themselves in the downtime. Now they'll just have phones. Mm-hmm. But back then they had to carry comics with them in their backpacks or their back pockets, or that's where the paperback book came from, in order for them to have something to do while they were waiting for the war to come their way.
Yeah. And we circle back to Wonder Woman, if not mistaken.
And that's really the big selling point with Wonder Woman. Is Wonder Woman was never meant to be kids literature. It was never meant to be patriotic. She was patriotic because she was for the boys that were overseas that were fighting these wars, and that's where the majority of their sales were coming in from. That and the base patriotism message, but the underlying fetishism that Moulton put into that character is really out of his own deviant nature, I guess you would say. And the fact that he realized comics could be a form of communication.
Yeah.
And
now they have Pornhub.
And now they have TikTok, and Pornhub.
Yeah. No, not TikTok, Pornhub.
Yeah. Only
in 2012, Darren Wagner writes this article, How Liberalism May Be Hurting Comic Book Sales.
It's not liberalism, sorry.
Yeah, well, in 2012, that's what they thought it was. Mm-hmm. It's progressivism is what it was.
This guy wouldn't have this.
It was progressive Marxism labeled as liberalism. That's what was happening.
Liberalism.
Where was this article?
This is in 2012 on Bleeding Cool.
Wow.
2012. He says, if you're a conservative like me, you've been reading fewer and fewer comic books over the last 12 years. For those of you who know who know what I'm talking about, the weekly visit to the comic book shop has become either an exercise in irritation or a monotonous drill. You pick up a superhero monotonous drill. Yeah. You pick up a superhero comic book featuring a childhood favorite of yours, hoping to reignite some of that magic you felt way back when, and you see that the opening sequence in the comic book deals with an oil rig disaster. You immediately and disappointingly know what's going to be said, either by the childhood favorite or by some other character given credibility within the story. You turn the page, and sure enough, your childhood favorite grumbles about his or her country's dependence on oil, or how inherently dangerous oil drilling is to the environment, and how it's not worth it, or simply mutters to himself or herself briefly about the evils of corporate America.
This stuff isn't just limited to comics, though. It's like you can specifically look at books, for example, like in novels and so on and so forth, and go directly to the year 2005, and that is exactly the cutoff point before everything starts getting, extremely political. And a lot of that stuff is to, particularly in the sci-fi realm, is to people like John Scalzi. Right, in his work, and he sat in a lot of the on a lot of like sci-fi shows and a lot of stuff that influenced the genres that the TV shows like Stargate and some other shows, as they got more progressive or political, or more progressive, I guess, or post-modernist, which ended up canceling show after show after show, but that bled over into comic books and other media.
True. Yeah. Yeah, so he's so now you might say, Darren, you've obviously unaware that Green Arrow is based on Robin Hood, or everybody else knows Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor. He'd be an occupier today. Well, yeah, that's how those on the left view Robin Hood. But if you look more closely at Robin Hood, you will find that the character more accurately stole from the state and gave back to the people.
Yeah.
So one could just as easily say that Robin Hood would be a Tea Partier today, and therefore Green Arrow could be too. So it's what happens when you mix everything down to a political side. He says, folks, I know comics are created by artists, and I know that Marvel and DC offices are in New York City, and I realized before I started typing this that asking for authentic conservatism in comic books from the big two to counter constant jabs, references, and snide, preachy copy, the print is like asking the mob to please leave garbage alone.
Dude, and the thing is, like, even this view is so narrow because, I mean, he mentioned Robin Hood. If you know how the people that live in countries that have Spanish legacy and how we look at Robin Hood and William Tell and all those like British heroes, look for something called the Black Legend of the Spanish Empire, and you'll understand how we see them. And it's a completely different view that has nothing to do with what this guy's talking here about.
Well, I mean, we skipped a lot of his article, to be fair.
Yeah.
There's a hell of a lot of stuff he said that I didn't read, right?
Yeah.
So I want to get to this point here because we've got so much to cover today.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that when an entertainer goes political, he or she runs the very serious risk of cutting their audience by at least half. The comic book audience has been getting smaller and smaller, and I think it's time to honestly consider that a big part of the problem is the content. It's gotten so bad that some of the more open-minded, liberal comic book readers I know are getting turned off because it's so obvious what's been happening. I know that some of you are going to reply with some variation of, I don't see it, or this guy's a troll, or shut up. That's fine, go ahead and exercise that right, but it won't help the comic book industry or make the audience grow again. So this was in 2012 that Darren was musing about that. And here's another article that was written in October of 2017. So fast forward 5 years, and you see his political correctness hurting Marvel Comics. This was written by Law and Liberty. Marvel Comics is caught in a dilemma. The company, which went from a near bankruptcy in 1996 to one of the most successful movie studios in the world, first became well known in its 1960s for its depiction of superheroes who had human problems. Spider-Man, the Hulk, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and others didn't fight their battles in the fantasy world of Gotham or Metropolis, but in New York City. They dealt not only with supervillains, but with racism, self-doubt, adolescence, illness, and poverty. As a new book out from Taschen, The Marvel Age of Comics, 1961 to 1978, it shows these characters were as much part of the 1960s as a space race, anti-war college protesters, and John F. Kennedy. Modern comic fans and creators are still celebrating Marvel's realism, and that desire to be modern has resulted in the decision to tamper with some of the most beloved Marvel characters. The results have been poor. Beginning around 2011, Marvel creators altered tried and true superheroes to respect a more multicultural America. That year, Marvel writer Brian Michael Bendis announced that he would be writing a half-black, half-Hispanic Spider-Man. In 2012, Marvel published the first gay wedding in comics in Astonishing X-Men, resulting in a lot of media coverage and a boost in sales, which promptly tanked again, leading to the eventual cancellation of the title Astonishing X-Men. More recently, Thor, the Nordic god of thunder, became a female character, as did Iron Man, who is now Ironheart, an African-American teenage girl named Riri Williams. Goes on to say that these changes are not well loved, what they're we need to read this because this started some issues. These changes, at least according to David Gabriel, Marvel's senior vice president of print sales and marketing, led to sales decline. What we heard was that people didn't want any more diversity, Gabriel told the company investors in March. They didn't want female characters out there. That's what we heard, whether we believe that or not. So when we saw the sales of any character that was diverse, any character that was new, our female characters, anything that was not a core Marvel character, people were turning their nose up against. That was difficult for us because we had a lot of fresh, new, exciting ideas that we were trying to get out that nothing really worked. Of course, these remarks caused liberal backlash, and Gabriel quickly scrambled to clarify them. Don't cancel me. There were various reasons for declining sales, he now insisted, adding, "Let me be clear, our new heroes are not going anywhere." He expressed himself proud and excited to keep introducing unique characters that reflect new voices and new experiences into the Marvel Universe and pair them with our iconic heroes.
Poor bastard. Like, agree with us or you will narfle the Garthok. Man. Dude, this is like Coneheads, man. Stupid.
Here's the thing. No one would object to left liberals starting their own schools, hiring their own faculty, and setting their own policies, but they prefer to infiltrate existent institutions. They would rather take over what is established than do the hard work of building their own schools. Marvel very easily could have started an entirely new line of comics aimed at a younger, more multicultural America. Instead, they made the Incredible Hulk Asian, Spider-Man of mixed race, and the Mighty Thor woman. Again, there is nothing wrong with pop culture reflecting an increasingly diverse America. What is annoying is creators who shoehorn these new identities into characters who have been around for a half a century.
How would they have called that Marvel line? Like Marvel Suckage?
I don't know. It didn't have to suck if they did a good job.
Yeah,
Marvel new universe.
Yeah, new universe.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff is just weird, man. They like look at Blade, it was great. Look at Ripley, amazing,
yes.
right? Like,
yes.
Like
Marvel,
it doesn't have to be stupid, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It was already starting, and then and then liberalism. Well, again, I was a liberal. I was a classic liberal. Am a classic liberal. So it wasn't liberalism. It was this progressive Marxism that labeled itself as liberalism.
Mediocrity. Laziness.
Yeah, comics have also lost some of the pure pro-American joy that once made Marvel so beloved by fans, as the Marvel Age of Comics so gorgeously demonstrates. There was more than realism in the Fantastic Four and the Amazing Spider-Man and the other comics of the 1960s. There was humor, patriotism, romantic love, and that resulted in marriage and children and moments of pure happiness and optimism. After all, the Marvel Universe began in the early 1961, which was the forward-looking dawn of Kennedy's New Frontier.
Yeah, dude, these comics were so good that you have to picture this. These guys were selling American exceptionalism. What would that say to the rest of the world? That we suck, you know?
Yeah.
And we still consume the comic books. Still, we're good. Like, I don't care if you're selling like we're American, we're the best. Yeah, the comic's good. Like, I don't believe that. Whatever, you want to feel even better. These are good books.
Again, this was 2017. This article was written. One of the main reasons the Marvel films of the last decade have been so successful is that they tap into the formula. Marvel's modern cinema run began in 2008 with Iron Man, a film whose hero, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., is a brainy inventor and industrialist who had become rich manufacturing weapons. Early in the film, Stark is confronted by the reporter from the Vanity Fair. And so it goes through all that. We've all seen the movie.
And he has sex with her. That was awesome.
And then he bones her.
Yeah, he boinks her.
I've said this before. If you want to get away from all of the progressive stuff, just get any media posts or before 2005 and you're golden, right?
Yeah.
And that is the exact cutoff when all this progressive postmodernist started.
How are you going to make comics about love in America if the guys producing it hate it? That's a big problem. Like, all these guys who are writing and Marvel and DC right now, they hate America. They think America should change.
it's not just America. There's a big
Yeah.
hate out there for the ideal
Everything.
of heroism.
Yeah.
That is really the central tent pole for American, especially superhero comics. That they want to tear down and demasculate and
this is diametrically
not
opposed.
just that, but completely taint it.
Yeah.
They can't just tear it down. They have to
They have to
tear it
destroy it.
apart and poop on it, and then bury it. Look at
And
what
leave
they
it in
did
the
to
sun.
Punisher.
Then they
So it's
unpack
no
it,
more.
and they're like, "Oh, we need to unpack this and explain it so that
they
you can
construct the
follow
hero.
it."
Well, unpack it as Orwellian speech for poop on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, earlier that month in Disney news, September 18th, 2017.
Comics implosion.
So the other one was October, this was September. Marvel Comics implosion. Are politics, readers, or combative editorial to blame? So could fan backlash against the current political climate at the Disney-owned publisher be partly to blame for Marvel Comics plummeting numbers? Which there's an article for that. Let's just say that the new Marvel Civil War isn't a comic book series or movie. It's taking place right now on social media. In an effort to better understand just why Disney's comic publisher has been doing so horribly lately, we've been digging into the interactions between readers and creators, and it's messy. It's very messy. Really, really messy. I don't consider myself a comic book journalist, but I've been watching the situation unfold from the sidelines and will attempt to give the non-initiated and a synopsis. Yeah, try to give the non-initiated a synopsis of what is leading towards, I believe, a breaking point for Marvel Comics and possibly the American comic book industry as a whole. 2017, guys, 2017. It's 2017 political, and politics take center stage on social media. Creators and fans are not immune to this. By and large, the most active comic creators on social media tend to be left-leaning, and an increasingly large portion of them seem to be on the far left of the political spectrum.
Nuts, I would say, but yeah.
Now this has had some positive effect.
Everybody else.
Or in other words,
now this has had some positive effect on comics, as there's been more concern for proper representation of minorities, women, and LGBTQ on both the creative side and in the comics themselves. Until fairly recent memory, the majority of comic creators were white men creating stories about superpowered white men. Again, the writer might be wrong there, I think.
God save me from the white man.
I think most can agree that diverse stories opens comics up to new audiences, and that's a positive. And given the dire state of comic book sales these days, comics need every reader it can get. But despite these efforts, Marvel Comics still appears to be hemorrhaging readers much faster than it can acquire new ones. The numbers don't lie.
Nope.
If you step into a comic book shop... No, they don't lie.
No.
If you step into a comic book shop to pick up an issue of your favorite MCU hero, you might be surprised at what you find. In recent years...
That's why they don't do accurate numbers now.
No, they can't. If
the
they
numbers
showed,
don't lie.
If they showed what the comics were actually moving, then they would.
Right.
We would all laugh.
Yep.
Yeah.
We would laugh, and we would, and if we weren't laughing, we'd be crying.
Yep.
You might be surprised at what you find. In recent years, many of Marvel's core characters have been replaced with more diverse versions of themselves, including female versions of Thor and Wolverine, and as well as Asian American Hulk and an African American female as Iron Man. Some progressive fans have applauded Marvel for mixing it up, while many longtime readers were upset by the drastic changes to the Marvel Universe. Potential new readers introduced to the Marvel brand through the movies were likely confused by the absence of Thor and Tony Stark.
Yep.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, Captain America was outed as a supervillain last year. That did not go over well.
Nope.
In what appears to be a Hail Mary pass, Marvel is returning many classic characters in the Marvel Legacy events. Diversity in comics.
Yeah, it worked out
Earlier
real
in
well.
the year, Marvel VP of Sales David Gabriel set off a firestorm on social media when he claimed that retailers didn't want any more diverse books, as they couldn't move them.
Say diverse.
Yeah, maybe he used the wrong language there. Of course, the left pounced on this as a chance to declare comic readers, retailers, and certain Marvel staffers as misogynist, homophobes, racist, and overall no goodnicks. That's a friggin' cool word I've never seen written. No goodnicks.
Yeah.
The right, however, used it as an opportunity to crow about how political correctness and diversity hires have hurt Marvel's bottom line and is killing the comic book industry.
That's
basically,
easy talking.
basically, all the comics ills are the other team's fault. However, I think the truth is somewhere between.
Oh, is it?
Of milkshakes and men. Comic fans are pretty passionate about their hobby. Once upon a year, comics readers used to be able to vent about books or artists with little fear of personal response from creators. In fact, most creators were blissfully unaware of any shade being thrown their way unless it ran into the letters columns of a book, or they were harassed by a fan in person at a convention. With the advent of social media, many comics creators are just a tweet away, meaning that they often take a lot of abuse from aggravated readers who didn't like this or that about a comic book storyline. A recent example of unprovoked hostility towards comic professionals was geared at some female Marvel staffers who were having a milkshake in remembrance of Fabulous Flo Steinberg. You might remember that. The Milkshake Crew.
Oh my God.
There was a problem with the Milkshake Crew, though, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Because it turns out all of these women were part of a whisper network.
Yeah.
That were lobbying to get men fired. Not just based on their political views, but men in general.
This picture makes me soft. I'm sorry.
Yeah. However, I've seen the abuse go both ways, with more and more comic professionals going on the offensive towards fandoms, whether or not it's actually warranted. Given that so many comics professionals lean left, many far left, it's not uncommon to see any readers who lean right or question some of comics' most left-wing storylines to be tarred and feathered via social media. Critics are often hastily dismissed as trolls, misogynist, racist, homophobes, creeps, and basement dwellers. Many creators, young left-leaning followers on social media, are quick to pounce on whoever has been singled out by the offended creator. This is what was happening in 2014, 2015, 2016 primarily. This was happening. They're writing about this in 2017. So anyone that disagreed was already being labeled an ist or a phobe.
I think Crystal Blast makes a great point in this comment right here when you highlight that, though, about the milkshake incident. Because that's at the root of everything. It's all about horniness and simping. Because
yeah, it was about why are they only hiring these young women?
Yeah, exactly.
They were just trying to get some. It was a hashtag Me Too kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be fair, sometimes overly critical comic book fans are misogynist, racist, and homophobes. They are. We know, we've met a few. But sometimes they're not. Yeah. They just don't like the direction the stories are going in.
Just like in the real world.
Just like in the real world.
But so what if they are,
Yeah, we're gonna skip ahead here a little bit.
Maybe collectivism is dangerous, and
maybe they should be tolerant. Yeah.
Yes, so it goes on. So we have diversity in comics, where Zach is pretty vocal about these things, and then
only because he cared.
Yeah,
because he cared. It was his passion. Yep. He loved him.
I mean, you don't have to agree with everything Zach said, but dude, he started all this.
Well, he's looked at as the spearhead, but really it was Zach was literally vocalizing
the catalyst,
an opinion that
a
lot of readers already had out there. That's why he became so popular so quickly.
And then there's these YouTubers. Marvel has a pandering problem, not a diversity problem. Controversy. I'm a part of a Marvel Comics sales slump. So we got somebody talking about this sales slump here. Clearly something these YouTubers are saying is resonating with more and more disenfranchised comic readers, and Marvel Comics needs to start paying attention, because if they won't, Disney will. Speaking of which, Marvel Comics employees don't act like Disney employees. So it goes through that a little bit.
Well, I think that's kind of changed since then. This is old, right? This is
2017. 2017.
Yeah, now Disney employees are acting like Marvel
employees. Yeah.
People read comics to escape, to be entertained. The country is divided enough without being hit upside the head with more politics and entertainment. A bigger problem, of course, is just that comic sales are down overall for a number of reasons. Endless reboots, increased competition from other media, high cover prices, and wonky distribution system that relies on a decreasing number of specialty stores, to name a few. However, Marvel comic sales are slipping much faster than competitor DC Comics, and politics could be to blame. So here again, people are musing about the politics 2017.
Yeah, but isn't manga doing
they're
great?
trying to find the simple scapegoat is what they're looking to find, or what they're trying to find, instead of pointing the finger at quality and a lack of editorial direction aimed at making money and generating, entertainment.
Yeah, right. So something happened. They started blacklisting the fans, calling them ist and phobes, and those fans started to speak with their wallet around these YouTubers that were also being very critical of what was happening with the politics and the progressivism, the Marxism going on in the comics, not liberalism. I'm classic liberal. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Okay,
that's the thing. Like liberal is getting a bad rap.
it really is.
It is. Yep.
It is.
And it's not liberal.
Yeah, I'm not.
But
I'm
there's,
not a
there's
progressive.
a lot of language that's being mutated at the moment into other
really
meanings
exactly.
that shouldn't be there. Yeah.
It's
Dude, I'm a classic follower of von Mises and von Hayek.
Yeah. So
of the Austrian School of Economics.
something
and I
similar
respect
was
that.
something similar was going on in games, where really piss poor games were being touted as being great games through these reviewers and different outlets, and the fans realized that these people were being paid, right? So they started doing their own reviews and starting their own YouTube channels in rebuttal.
Yep.
And it was called Gamergate.
Gamergate, yep.
They throw a gate on the end of anything they don't like to make it sound bad.
Ever since
So-
Watergate.
Watergate, yeah.
So these
The Watergate
fans,
Hotel.
they labeled them as Comicsgate. It started as this fan movement that was criticizing them. And then there were some creators and they decided that we're going to make their own, right? And through it, these fans started to find comic books that they liked and publishers that they liked that were putting stuff out. One of the publishers that put out stuff that they liked was Alternate Comics. Peter Simeti's a great guy. He's a fantastic guy.
And he has never declared Comicsgate, though.
Yes, he has.
He has?
Yeah.
When?
Because here's the problem. And so what happened was Peter Simeti was asked, some of you know, but many don't. The money raised from this weekend's art auction on the Alternate Comics and Ethan Van Sciver YouTube channel will help us cover Lovey's upcoming vet bills. So he's thanking the fans, right?
Yeah.
Somebody says, I don't know if you were unaware, but EVS is not someone you want to be associated with. He's been an integral part of the Comicsgate hate group.
Hate group.
That's funny coming from the.
Pete Simeti says, I don't know if you were aware, but Comicsgate isn't a hate group, and EVS isn't part of a hate group either. Since you weren't aware before, you're aware now. Have a great one, right? So he's thanking the fans. This newest rant, makes this statement. And then they respond. Oh, let me get back to. What the hell?
Boomer Jews.
Hey,
activate.
We strongly disagree on the kind of people found in Comicsgate and the kind of person EVS is.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Still civil.
Right. I'm sorry, but I'm now feeling I may be unable to support Alterna now if you associate with Comicsgate and EVS. I wish you the best, though.
Cool. Still cool. Very civil.
Yep. Here we go. This is all news to you. If this is all news to you, then you haven't supported Alterna or myself in years. All the best.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
These exchanges are very tiring. You know what?
Yeah. I'm the kind of person found in Comicsgate, along with the thousands of others from all walks of life. Some of the kindest, most charitable people I've ever known are found within Comicsgate, as can be attributed to the original post that brought your hate to.
Yes, exactly.
Bringing the hate back to this guy.
Yep.
Pete, what a great guy. If this is all news to you, then you haven't supported Alternate or myself in years. All the best.
All the best.
So, yes. So,
I think he's too polite.
This happened in 2021.
21.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was, we knew. Some of this happened before that. Okay.
Yeah.
Pete was asked to denounce some of his supporters, and because they were Comicsgate, and he said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'll never denounce a supporter. Wouldn't do that." And so they started to label him, right? Yeah. I was I was at a book event, creator event at a comic book shop called Kingdom of Comics with a guy who invited me there was by the name of Travis Gibb, and he was at the time one of my partners. Turned out to be one of the worst working experiences I ever had. And regretted every moment of it. So he was there, but then the discussion about Pete Samedi came up, and I knew Pete was a good guy, and they were talking about, well, we were going to make a submission over there, but no, we can't, because we don't associate with anyone that associates with those people. So guilt by association, they were already trying to blacklist Alternate Comics. Based on his associations, there were people were leaving that were already published by them were leaving, and there were people that had submissions that were pulling their submissions, and Pete was very professional, very kind about it. Said, I'm sorry you feel that way, and so that was.
Well, those people were hounded by these haters.
Yeah, they were hounded, and that's really what it was. There was a campaign of these ravenous. Fans that just pounced all over him, like the previous article talked about, right? Yeah. So it's been going on that these supporters of these people that were out to get this movement. They didn't like those fans; they wanted to squash it. And what they noticed was happening is more and more fans were going there, more and more creators were kind of finding their way into that area, and they were making money, right? And so what they wanted to do is if they wanted to control all the money, it wasn't working because they weren't making any. But crowdfunded books were doing great. 2021, killing it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just the start.
Yeah. So but this was written in 2021, but this was kind of going on in 2020, actually, 2019. So it was in that time frame that I realized that, oh crap, I've got a lot of associations. They're gonna try to cancel me. So I thought, well, let me just get ahead of it and just, you get ahead of those kind of things, so you're not caught flat-footed, right? Because they were doing it with them. There's this blackballing that's happening. People's like, no, it's not happening. It's because they're a hate group. Well, we just read that they weren't. They were just people that didn't like what was going on, and they were being labeled these things. Yes, some of them were those things. I'm not gonna lie, but there's some of those things over there on the far left too. There's a lot more racist there than what you realize.
One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch.
Right.
Okay. I have something to say about this racism thing.
The whole concept of the left, or not the left, the whole concept of post-progressive Marxism is based in prejudging people based on the color of their skin.
No, and not only that, but dude, like even if they're showing benevolence, they sincerely think that I can make it on my own as a black guy. And that to me is more racist than a guy coming in a white sheet like I'm the Grand Wizard of whatever. That's just information. But if somebody will come here and stand in my way, stop doing what you're doing because you don't know and you need my help. No. Sit down.
Well,
let me guide you. Like, dude, I'm gonna shoot that person in the face. I'm sorry.
Pete underwent a lot of harassment during that time.
Yeah.
It almost drove him to suicide. They swatted his home. I don't know if you know what that is, where they make some egregious claim and SWAT team shows up, bust your door down. So yeah, I had to deal with that. Yeah. So, hey, they got an impartial journalist to write that article.
Yeah.
Ducks, tomatoes, yeah. So here's a guy who actually had a run-in with Comicsgate.
Yeah.
Doesn't like Comicsgate. Writing about these people denouncing. And a lot of this comes down to there was a video that was shared of Darwin Cook by a comic skater.
Who Darwin Cook, by the way, who loved comics.
Yeah.
As an art form, had a career in animation. Decided his love was in comics.
Right.
Yes.
So what happened was his widow posted something. Look, he wouldn't have supported Comicsgate. Please don't share. Please remove. Don't associate him or me with your movement, right? And they were like, why are you? Why would make you think that? Like, some people were very nice. There were some people that didn't know who she was and acted kind of rude. But someone speculated through a series of tweets that someone had gotten to her and said, "Look, you need to denounce that group. It'll ruin Darwin's legacy."
Legacy. Yeah.
And so she, and so someone said that, and she's like, "No, it wasn't me." But she kept telling Ethan to call off his dogs, right? Basically. And people were like, Ethan's not in control of us. Like, he's just a creator. And so he did tell her, look, maybe you should just mute the, because she apparently didn't know Twitter very well. But it became a big issue. And so these creators in the left, in the mainstream, were working really hard to try to find a way to rally around something to denounce Comicsgate. And in comes War Campaign and gives them that reason, right? And so War Campaign comes in, does their thing, and they start denouncing Comicsgate publicly.
What exactly is War? Because I've only heard about it one time.
Oh, it's a moment in time.
Yeah.
It's a group of people that they did made a book.
Because someone said it's associated with the Canadian trucker movement.
Yeah,
they are now. Yeah.
But the trucker movement was a good thing, but what it allegedly the War Campaign's a bad thing. So I just
you have these, and again, I was telling Luke when we found out what the subject was for today that he needs to get a picture of Beavis and Butthead so that we can post this, because you got a lot of spoiled children out there playing in the schoolyard fighting over toys that they think they possess and that they
belong to them.
That belong solely to them instead of being available for everyone to play with, and they don't want to share. But War Campaign was a group of trolls, mostly immature brats. They
were really funny.
I would say. Well, they used humor a lot, yes, but there was a lot of misogyny. There was a lot of trolling that was going on, and the thing that got me, there was a lot of out and out cruelty against people that was uncalled for. And that they should have been adult enough to know better than to do. A lot of immature brats, bullies, I would say, in the schoolyard, trying to push their weight around, horned into Comicsgate, tried to push their weight around, and basically Ethan chased them off.
Yeah.
Because that's not what Comicsgate was all about.
Yeah. Well,
that's not what Comicsgate was in Ethan's mind was all about. It's about making great comics, period, for everybody to enjoy.
Well, and the name Comicsgate actually started was they were mocking.
Yeah.
They were mocking this movement of fans that were upset. And this started back in 2014. Again, remember this, 14 years ago people are talking about this. 15 years ago.
On the same coin, a lot of the progressives have wrapped their flag around the term social justice warrior.
Yeah.
And that started out as mockery as well.
No, actually, it started the other way around. It started like, we are this, and then people took it and turned it into a meme. And they're like, no, we're not social justice warriors anymore. Like,
pigeonholing and stereotypes is a primary factor when it comes to comics as an art form and as an industry. If you go back and you look at comics history, there's so much of it that's based around cultural stereotypes, pigeonholing, and you're looking at a picture and you're trying to give off an impression. And a lot of times, especially once you become culturally sensitive, it's the wrong impression. You know, the Asians have yellow skin. The African Americans have large lips and bones in their hair, and all of this improper, overuse of cultural stereotypes.
Don't get me started, Randy.
I'm sure I could, Pedro.
Yeah.
All right, so
that doesn't make it right, but it also means that as we
People
grow
should
as a
be
culture,
judged.
we know that it's incorrect.
People should be judged on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And there's no other way to go about it. If you go any other way about it, you're a frickin' moron.
Yes.
I'm too mature for this conversation.
It's all part of getting educated.
all right, so let me you guys are familiar with what this news tactic of basically it's a subliminal message.
Yeah.
They will get on the news and say it'll be a real shame, better look out. People are going to riot over here over this.
Yeah.
And it gives people the idea to go riot. People that had not thought to go riot, now they're thinking we should riot because the news is kind of speculatively reporting on something in order to set the narrative for what they want and rile people up. Well,
that's what.
This happened on ICV2 back in 2014. Okay, if Comicsgate ever happens, it will be catastrophic. So, back in 2014, they are trying to prompt the narrative of this fan movement, right? Which is what this article is all about.
Because heaven forbid that Zach actually have an opinion.
Right, yeah. The rage of the true fans. One side is the original tribe, the true believers, who feel justified by their identity, their historical positions, and intensity of their attachment to to define the nature of culture, whether it's something as specific as gamer culture or as broad as authentic Americanism. For everyone else, others are welcome as long as they acknowledge the fundamental legitimacy and supremacy of this group. Not true.
No.
So you can see how this is forming an opinion and implying things to kind of set the mood, right? So, I'm reading these articles when these things are happening in real time, and I have long memory. So I know what's going on. I see it. I know some of the people that are being called ist and phobes personally. And I know that they're not. They're calling black people white supremacists because they're hidden behind an avatar. They have no idea that they're black. They have no idea who they're actually working with. So he says, if a Comicsgate were to erupt with the same visibility and intensity as Gamergate, it would not only tear apart the fabric of comics culture, it would threaten the viability of that whole commercial ecosystem as well. Said that in 2014. Speculating. So created and planted a seed of fear that if those people, who now I've just labeled as bad people, if they have their way, they're going to tear all the stuff that you love down. They're going to tear it up. They're going to destroy the whole thing rather than fix it.
Yeah.
That's what they started with, right? So this was all happening.
Yeah.
This was what's going on. And so now at this point, this was the moment, the defining moment that made everyone say, if you're Comicsgate, no, you can't work with us. You can't be a part of us. And so anyone that had criticism of what they were doing automatically got labeled as Comicsgate.
That's not right, rabbit hole.
Bonnie's asking a question to me.
Sure. What's the question?
Right? Does Pedro lean into the Latin lover trope or the black man rumors? I lean on both, Bonnie, because they're both true in my case. We can continue now.
It's Vulture.
All right, here's another.
Are they still around?
Article. Yeah. August 29th, 2018, Comicsgate is a nightmare, tearing comic fandom apart. So what happens next?
They're tearing us apart.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Everyone tweeting, I believe comics are for everyone. There's no excuse for harassment. I believe comics is for everyone. That sounds like the news station that just copy the same message over and over again.
Like
This is the message. This was the message.
Yep.
Comics is for everyone. There's no excuse for harassment. There's no place for homophobia, transphobia, racism, or misogyny in comics. Well, there are some of those people that are there, but that's not what Comicsgate was about. It was a fan movement that criticized the politicism and the forced diversity that was there. It was ridiculous. But they started to paint it with that brush, and because they controlled the news outlets, they controlled the narrative.
But if they're inclusive and you have an openly misogynist comic book creator, he's not allowed because you're into inclusion.
Dynamite goes boom.
Go out.
So before you get to that, Luke, my sketchbook is asking, why are we reliving old war wounds?
Because
it's relevant. Yeah.
Because it's relevant to what we're talking about. Because this is it's the start of the blacklisting. We have to understand why there's blacklisting. They're not blacklisting people because they're ist and phobes. They're blacklisting people because they had criticisms of what they were doing because of their progressive Marxism, and they labeled them ist and phobes to control the narrative. So that's what we're establishing. That's what happened here. And here is where the blacklisting continued. Dynamite goes boom. Dynamite gets associated with Comicsgate, right? They are associated with them, and then they have to try to come out and say, no, we're not. And so they try to disassociate, but it still hurt their business. It killed them, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? So that happens. Comicsgate is changing the comic industry, whether you like it or not. Then someone's like, look, it's happening. There's a movement over there. Comicsgate, so there's two things. They said two things. Comicsgate is an alt-right hate movement filled with bigots that harass women and minorities because they want them out of comics, and Comicsgate is a group of individuals who are fed up with. So it's like they're one of two things. What are they? What is it? Is it the first, or are they? Is it a group of individuals who are fed up that one of their favorite industries has been co-opted by progressive ideologues, and it shows in their work? The answer is number two. And so it goes on that this is starting the movie. So Kelly Marie Rose talks a lot about Ethan, how Ethan becomes a prominent figure of this. And then talks about Tim Lim, so who is no longer really a part of that movement, but does his own thing. Doug TeNapel was a part of it. Jeff Hicks. A whole mess of people, right?
Yeah.
That were a part of this initial movement that they called Comicsgate. And like everything else, they just, the people that get labeled, they just
separate ways.
They own it as a badge of honor, I guess, right? So they're saying, look, it's changing the industry. Things are moving. Things are going to look different now, whether you like it or not. And then they have a list of comics to avoid.
Oh, great!
This is in 2020.
Oh,
great.
No.
So now here's more blacklisting. They're like, here's some comics, and it's talking about the Brett Weisers who had their own issues with stuff, but they were connected to Comicsgate. And this article was actively trying to tell people not to buy their comics that were going to be in Walmart.
Walmart, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so some of the comments here are hilarious. Someone down here says, this makes no sense at all. If you're arguing that their business model is flawed and destined to fail in today's market, then why do we need to boycott their comics? Why advise potential customers not to buy their comics if it's going to disappear from Walmart in a month or so?
If I may interject here, because it could have changed the industry.
Because it could have changed the industry.
It could have changed the status quo, and that can't happen.
And so they actively...
in too many people's minds.
And so they actively worked against... And it's this guy again, Kleefeld. There's a couple of these guys. You'll notice the same names. And so actively pushing against the Brett Weisers. It did lasted a couple of years, actually. So it did better. Well, even with their active push against it.
The reason they didn't make it wasn't because of Comicsgate or their association with it. It was there was a lot of inner business problems with that company right from if you bothered to follow what was going on. with Brightwisers, you came to realize that. But no, it's so easy just to pigeonhole and to stereotype this as as something else. It's so easy to put that label on it so you don't have to look or educate yourself or think about it.
2020 was a crazy year.
Yeah.
So Jay Lee does a cover for Ethan Van Sciver.
Mm-hmm.
Tom King gets Jay Lee fired because of it.
And then harasses him at his dog's funeral too.
Then harasses him, yeah. And so more blacklisting taking place, right? So good talent, people of good talent, because they disagreed with the political leanings, the progressive leanings that people were trying to push in comic books. They didn't like it. They were going against it. So they started labeling them as ist and phobes, painted them with a brush, and then tried to convince an entire industry that these were evil people. These were just fans that were sick of the BS. That's all it was.
Even before that, it goes back to the tweets that were made by the people up there. And some of these were milkshake tweets.
Yeah.
That if you voted for Trump, we will remember you.
Yeah. Vote for Trump, we will remember you. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
Don't buy my book.
All of this
That's where the snowball
stuff,
started down this hill.
And they said, okay, we won't buy your book, right? And so this whole,
that's what you're getting now.
Yeah. This
we'll go out and make our own industry.
This whole move started, right? And they saw it coming. ICV2, the news outlet that we read every week, because it's the most trusted by the retailers, they planted the seeds of fear that Comicsgate was going to destroy their business and tear their stores down. But it wasn't Comicsgate that was doing it. It was crap stories and crap books that people didn't want to buy. They had to create a boogeyman, right?
There's been enough time, enough water under the bridge for folks to forget about what McCarthyism was.
Right. Yeah.
For folks to forget about the persecution that went on during World War II because you weren't the right person or the right leaning or whatever. So now they can apply that down, and it's shifted down into this art form.
Fast forward 2 years. It's not working. The boycotts aren't working. They're realizing that the fans are following these creators. The creators were seeing past all of the smoke and mirrors, and they knew what was going on.
They were educating themselves.
Come 2 years later, comics are booming. People are making money. 2022, you got Eric Jalaj. You've got Ethan Van Sciver. You got all these people making money.
Yeah.
All these people making money.
You got Shane Davis. You got
Shane Davis.
Yeah, dude. There's a lot of people making bank.
All of these great Chuck Dixon. Made his way over. All these, amazing creators were like, look, that industry's dying. They're not listening. They don't want to change. The cool kids have gotten involved. These radicals have gotten involved and taken over this industry. They're hiring people based on a diversity score rather than merit. It's not that you can't hire someone that's good that is one of those things. They just didn't. I don't know. So anyway, move forward. Calling out hate and fandom isn't enough. We must deplatform it.
Aww.
These pretentious
pricks.
Yeah. Who's got the hate?
Who's got the hate? Who's got the hate?
And dude,
right?
And the platform, I like therapies, man. I'll be back. You know what I mean?
It's so freaking laughable. Like,
but you know what's hurting?
Oh.
Let's go back to Millar's or Millar, however you want to say it.
Millar.
I call him Millar. I've always called him Millar.
Just call him Millar.
Yeah, whether Justin likes it or not.
Yeah,
that was a good one, Bunny. Sorry.
For what?
Like Kelly he says, was the Dylan Mulvaney of comics.
Hang on. It shifted. I lost it.
Yeah.
What's that comment?
Like Kelly Sue the comic was the Dylan Mulvaney of comics, and yes, he was.
Bunny, you're funny sometimes.
Probably a good comparison, actually.
Bunny, you are funny sometimes.
Good one, man.
Right. So here we are. Now, we're like, guys, we've got to deplatform them, right? It's not enough. It's not enough. And you've got Millar, you've got Mark over there saying that, we need to bring these great creators back, in order to save the industry. But they're blacklisting all of the people that could potentially save their industry. They won't hire a Graham Nolan. They won't hire an Aaron Lopresti. They won't hire a Dale Keown.
A Mike Barron, who has a track record longer, and Chuck Dixon, who both have track records longer than your arm for selling books. Yeah.
They won't hire these people.
No.
And so you're looking at, and they just said that people are now saying in 2023 that the industry's dying. There's only one thing to say.
Yay! Think about what you've accomplished.
And
Think
your
about
point,
what they've
Agent
accomplished.
Zero, but some people just don't deserve that kind of respect. To tell you the truth.
And here's a question. This article
We all need to write an autobiography.
probably could have gone up earlier in the list of things. This was written in 2011, I believe. Yeah, I believe this was a 2011 article, but it was talking about there were some politics. Yeah, so this article really goes back there. But yeah, there was some politics that was going on, but it was masked. It was comic book industry. Is it really dying?
How old is this article?
This article was written in, where is my date? This is back in 2015. So we saw that the sales were plummeting back then, right? The fans were speaking, and this is why they started wanting to blacklist anyone that was not buying their books. They had to make it not about them because it started to tank and people started asking questions. In 2016, the sales got bad, but by the end of 2017, overall sales of comic book decreased by 13%, which is the steepest decline for the past 5 years. So this is a 2017 article, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that was as of 2017. Here's something else for you guys to consider. At the same time what was going on in 2020, they discovered that there was a whisper network. Ooh. This was just part one of this
Hippocrapocalypse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I first heard about the whisper network back in the mid 2016 from folks I knew at Image, DC, Marvel, and later Valiant, depending on who I chatted with. Sometimes the group was called the Women's Network, other times the Whisper Network, occasionally the Whisper Campaign, and eventually there were more conspiratorial names used mockingly. So there was a Facebook group where these people would conspire about who they were going to get fired.
Where's your hate group now?
Darth Poole here says,
seems to be right here.
The one, there is a Whisper Network, but it
Can
only
we call this a
exists
coven?
to out and blacklist creators. 2018.
Can we call this a coven?
A coven, yeah. 2018.
We get if we want to pigeonhole and stereotype them.
There is a Whisper Network. There is a Whisper Network, but it only exists to out and blacklist creators friendly to Comicsgate.
Mm-hmm. With a penis.
Got a book on Alterna? You're gone. Got a book on Vertigo and commit sexual assault?
Well,
let's not jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
Exactly. The severity of a crime is judged by who is reporting it. Tess Fowler gets hit on by Brian Wood equals massive industry scandal, reporting on My Old Book Media.
And yet you've got these guys out there putting notches, in their bedposts, bragging about how they brought this unsuspecting female into the business on the promises that they could, get them high up in the industry if they just listen to them and
if you touch it,
psychologically go through and mess up their head.
Mm-hmm. Ian Rennie.
Oh, you mean the guy who hypnotized adult women?
Well, that's hypnotize isn't the right word, but yeah.
The sorcerer that hypnotized grown women
mm-hmm.
into having influence as a writer, which is
my wife doesn't understand me.
Yeah, for sexual favors.
Yeah, yep. So this whole thing goes pretty deep, but there definitely was a whisper campaign that Gail Simone was a part of. Heather Antos is a part of it. Industries are small. People talk. They were all working on who they were going to get fired next.
That was a bullying tweet right there.
Yeah, to let you know, whisper networks are not enough. They only protect people.
Yeah,
yeah. They This all was going on, right?
Yeah.
So the evidence is out there. If people educate themselves, they could see. So, fast forward, Dr. Ben.
Hello.
You're working on a fan project, giant size 1963. Somebody finds out that you're Comicscape friendly. In fact, I believe they called you.
I put Comicsgate in my bio on Twitter. So I mean,
yeah. I'm
not like.
You're not hiding.
Yeah, I don't.
You're not hiding any.
I am who I am. You know.
Yeah, but I didn't realize you were a fire-breathing apologist.
Yes. I do,
So first off, I've never seen you breathe fire, and second, I don't believe that Comicsgate needs apologists. Right? This isn't an apologist. This is looking at history. This is educating yourself and seeing what's happened. Now, here's my question, Randy.
Sir.
Have you ever, in the history of comics, seen anything like this transpire?
Like what? Blacklisting?
This giant blacklisting movement based on politics. And
no,
have you ever
it's
seen it?
because before it was always based on nepotism. Nobody gave a crap about how you voted. They gave well, no, I'm not going to do that.
You got hired if you knew someone.
We're
I
a
knew
safe
that.
for work. We're a safe for work podcast. But there was always nepotism and favoritism in this industry, always. And this art form, if you want to go back and talk about diversity and inclusion, there was a lot more diversity there and inclusion going on than what anybody wants to bother to talk about, because back then it didn't matter. It didn't matter what your culture was. Most of the time, it didn't matter what your skin color was, because all that mattered is if you could do the work and do it fast enough to get it done and do it with a level of competency, you were there. You know.
And,
yeah.
That's all the parameters
It was a meritocracy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. So at some point, it stopped being that. I've never seen anything like this. But what's really happening is we, Mark said that the books coming out right now aren't good. It's because they've Mark Millar.
Oh, okay. That's pot kettle.
Right. Right. I mean,
So
if you go back,
that's always and it's a deep matter of opinion, because there's
where is it?
there's a lot of there's a couple of creators out there, and I'm going to leave this as open as possible, that have literally built their careers on the backs of other people and other people's ideas, where they've taken them. They were right person, right place, right time with somebody else's idea that they bothered to walk in and do or mutate or, brazenly call their own, that aren't really original ideas. They're not breaking any new ground here. They're just the ones like Stan Lee, able to stand up there like a carnival barker and go, "It was me. I did it. I wrote this story. It was me. I did it. I did this book." When actually you go back 10, 20 years and there's a book exactly like it that came out onto the market, nobody paid any attention to.
I do declare, Mr. Zimmerman.
I made money off of this. Well, they really made money off of somebody else's idea from 20, 30 years ago. They just knew how to capitalize on it correctly and kiss the right ass.
People are asking about the milkshake incident.
Sorry to be
I'll be honest with you.
That's what it is.
The milkshake incident has been blown way out of proportion. Mm-hmm. They took a picture of themselves with a milkshake, and then people criticized that it was those editors that were making comic books suck.
Everything with this that you've been showing, it's all blown out of proportion.
Everything is.
Everything is.
Yeah.
And it's equal on both sides on some of this stuff.
Right, yeah.
The milkshake incident, as they want to call it, that was a picture of them boasting, just like you saw that picture with Kathleen Kennedy with everybody wearing the shirts that said the force is female. They were bullying at that point and pushing their weight around. What happened with the milkshake picture was that suddenly a lot of these professionals who don't go up to the office, a lot of the comic readers who had no idea how comics were made, saw this picture of all of these young girls that were hired literally by all these old men in the office.
Horny men.
Yeah. And they're like, I wonder why they're there.
It was a mistake, and it should not have happened. HR at the department should have put their foot down to start with, because the people that were hired in there were hired more for their looks than what they were hired for their abilities and their skills. And that was the start of a lot of these problems.
And there was
trickled down to today.
There was a huge fan criticism about how these particular editors were doing a bad job of making good comics, and that they were there because they were young, and they speculated that they were there because they were young and pretty. That's why they got hired.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And that blew up, and people went nuts, and it caused a big uproar. But it also turns out that all those girls were part of a whisper network that was trying to get other men in the industry fired.
They all banded together and decided that this industry was too masculine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And was filled, granted, the majority of it was. There was a demographic study a long time ago that nailed the typical comic reader down to 25, 55, mostly white, mostly male, and that's what everybody catered to.
Yeah,
that
was
also what Diamond told everybody to cater to as well.
Exactly, but I didn't finish the question, which is true, but it doesn't mean it's bad.
Well, it's a market.
And
it doesn't mean that it can't be expanded and should have been expanded.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the question is, it's not even a question. The statement is, when Mark is saying that the comic book industry is in the worst state that it's ever been, the proof is that because of this blacklisting, because of allowing ideology to inform who you work with in a creative space rather than quality or ideas, you damage the creative output of the industry.
Yep.
That's what we're seeing.
Only in the realms of the corporate owned companies and icons, though.
True.
The industry isn't at the worst state it's ever been.
Their industry is. We've created a new industry.
The so-called corporate comics, I can't even call them mainstream anymore because they're not. They're just not, and that's another term that needs to be changed. Their part of this industry is dying because they are killing it. They have chased off the talent, the majority of the talent. There's still talented people up there, and there's people who become skilled over a long period of time, that if they care about the business and the industry that they're in, they get better. Unfortunately, that's a very, very small percentage. They're killing their own business. This is why they've left the door open for Scholastic. They've left the door open for manga to come raging in. They opened the door for crowdfunding and independent creators to go out there and show that they can make livings and actually make a profit that goes into their pockets for creating stuff on their own. If you have to point fault at whatever, or the state of this industry, it's their fault. It's not the people who want to make a living here. It's not people who want to read great comics. That's not the people at fault. It's the people up there making these decisions as regards to quality and skill with the corporate-owned entities and the corporate-owned icons that are screwing up the industry for everybody, or at least the American side of the industry. I would imagine Japan's never been happier.
Yeah.
Especially with breaking into the Western markets. Not that it's that important to them, because their market is booming and always has been booming the last 30, 40 years. There are people over there that are superstars.
And they do it differently.
Comics.
They do it differently. The creators own the IP and the companies publish it.
Yep, completely different ideology.
Yeah, completely different ideology, and it's working.
Exactly.
So let's get back to Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben, we invited you on today because I wanted to talk about this, right?
My soapbox.
So excuse me. You've been very, very quiet throughout this history lesson, I guess.
Yeah, you got to use your elbows
to set this up.
Well, I try to. I don't want to crosstalk or and I'm a guest, so I'm not trying to come in here and.
We're all friends here, Dr. Ben.
Yeah, don't worry.
You're not a guest.
Did you know? Did you know that all this stuff led to your blacklisting?
This is the thing: is I had been making comics. Just my own self-published little.
Sure.
All this kind of stuff, just folded stuff since back in 2011, and back in 2017, I didn't know all the different extremes and that everything was so serious, the blacklist, all these different things. And I had been, this is actually, I guess this is like my second time being canceled, honestly, because there was a professional back in 2017 that, I was friends with him on Facebook, and they saw that I had posted a picture. I had been to the RNC that year, or the last year. I took a picture with Milo Yiannopoulos, and like I'd written an article for a news site, and this professional, he like tagged me, and he's like, tagged all these other professionals, publishers, artists, writers, editors. Hey, did you know that this guy, he's with these Republicans. He's with the Trumps. And you can't be hanging out with this guy. And I just, I saw this just immediate, all this, my friends list just dropped in half, and it drove me out of comics, right? And that's what I'm saying. That was 2017.
They call that torturous interference.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
At the time, I didn't know about Comicsgate. I had heard about Zach, or Richard Meyer, and his thing with Antarctic Press. I remember being like, I was not for that at all. I'm like, if someone's being canceled just because you have a different opinion, that's not cool. And
not cool at all.
I was like, what chance do I have? Been making my little foldies and stapled comics. Never gonna. And so I had to quit. I had a family to take care of. So went back to the working full time at a factory or whatever. And then had pretty major life change in 2019 where both my heels were shattered in a catastrophic car accident, as they've called it. And, so I couldn't go back to working at factories or restaurants or whatever. And I was like, well, I'll give this comic stuff a try again. And I was like, well, all that stuff, all the controversy from Trump and Republican, that has to have died down by now.
Boy, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
And that's where I kind of went along for a while, and I think where I really noticed that it had not died down was when the Image Comics started their union for the secretaries and the janitors and stuff that work at Image Comics.
Yeah, that's recent. That was recent, pretty much.
Yeah. And I kind of spoke out about that because they wanted the option to be able to cancel any Image comic.
Yep.
Because they didn't like the creator. They wanted that as a specific right of the secretary.
They wanted the ability to bully.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to put that into the hands of, like I said, like the secretaries, nothing against a secretary, whatever.
But I don't want Pam from accounting telling me what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just no.
And when I said that, there's all these people that I was, comics people online that I'm friends or associated with or whatever, and they all just gave me the stank eye. They're all just like,
how dare you?
How dare you? Oh, can you please play that? How dare you?
And so that's what, I started planning my exit. I was like, I got to figure out what to do, how to I'd already been at that point. I don't think I had technically had a written contract with different things, but like verbal contracts, that sort of thing. And I was like, I don't want to throw other people into the whole mix of this if they're not down, and it just became more and more, I got excluded and talked about and this and that, and I was just like,
well, you had a good interaction with Simpson, didn't you? You had some good interactions prior to him. So who was the first one to say that? Who was the chief complainer that got you pulled off this project? Do you know?
I guess it would be Don Simpson because, like I said, I had talked with the editor or one of the editors before, and they knew I was Comicsgate, and I was like, they had to talk about it and converse if they could continue to keep me on there. And
they're like, and they did what most people do. Well, you're a cool guy. There's no reason to think, Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I looked over my notes, and it was back May 20th, they were like, yeah, it's okay. We're going to keep your stuff in the book. It's all right, you know. And then July 26th, someone was telling me, hey, did you hear what Don Simpson said? He said he doesn't want you using his character. He doesn't want you using this and that, your comic skate. And I'm like, I didn't hear anything about that. And, you know, a couple weeks went by, and then it was, like I said, August 17th, so last Thursday. And I saw, too, I didn't know about his blog at that point, so it was like after started looking it up, and I'm like, he's what? My hate group?
So the blog is... So did he announce this before you were pulled from the project?
Yeah.
Okay, so on August 14th, he announces, before you even know that you're off the project, he says the contributor to Giant Size 63, who was requested permission to use Megaton Man in his contribution, has since come out as a fire-breathing apologist for Comicsgate, a well-known right-wing hate group that likes to coyly pretend that it's not a right-wing hate group. I like how he repeats.
That's his lack of education showing here.
And as I understand it, has been expelled
non-concern for the industry or the market.
Yeah, and as I have come to understand, it has been expelled from the Giant Size 63 project. This means I went from having next to nothing to do with Giant Size 63 to having nothing whatsoever to do with it. Why would that matter?
Right. And that completely
it's about him.
contradicts what the editor says.
He's a freaking loon. He's an idiot. Your first problem was that you associated with someone that's as stupid as Don Simpson.
Yeah.
Like, why would you even consult this guy to put any of his crap in there? If there was something that you wanted, just...
Didn't know better.
I wouldn't. Look, there's certain people that I just look at their face and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to mess with that person. They got stupid written on their forehead. Don Simpson is one of these people that I have never respected in the industry. As a fan, never respected.
I didn't know who he was until today. So maybe
Andy
that's
Heartthrob Don Simpson returns to the program to talk about his latest work, X Amount of Comics, 1963.
And this is the other little tick in here is that this is his own book that he's doing is a separate comic about the 1963 stuff. So
Yeah.
That's been my thought about this too, is that maybe this is all like him trying to pull some sort of kayfabe baby face versus heel kind
of course,
thing.
Yeah.
And stir up stuff,
what was it, a couple of months ago that Travis was trying not to get canceled because he had some Comicsgate connections. I'll tell you what, here's the thing about Travis. He loved working with me when it come to the money, right? So number one, he was ripping me off, but number two, the big one was he calls me one day, right? And he says, I thought he was joking because we laughed a little bit. And we had this conversation. I said, why didn't you just text me? He goes, well, what I'm about to say, I don't want record of. And he said, so here's the deal. I'm going to focus on my crowd, and you're going to focus on the Comicsgate crowd on this next book. Right? Okay. So he was well aware of it and what we were doing, because we had a long discussion about me just leaving the project. As soon as I was like, look, I'm associated with this group. 60% of my fan base is there, and I like these guys. I work with a lot of them. They're nice people. So screw it, whatever. And but no, he was aware of it, right? And so some other people were calling him out, and he was about to get canceled. So he goes and he does doesn't do very many videos, and he does these like, I've been so good to the community, I've been helping so much. Really, Travis will help you if he feels like he can somehow siphon some of your fans or some kind of work off of you. He did that with this guy. What was his name? He was oh man, what was your name? What was his name? I can't remember.
Well, we don't have to get
anyway,
into
yeah, but he did that with somebody else. He went he was like, hey, I need to collect on my reciprocity for what I did for you. I need you to do this for me. He's like, dude, I'm busy on this other project. I can't get to it right now. And so then he just like goes off on the guy, right? And so the guy was ready to throw hands at him. So it's just more of this just really crazy stuff. Yeah, that's the same guy. When Tyler did the thing right? He was on another channel and he was like throwing my name around, you know, and he's like, well, Luke's over there. And I've never mentioned his name on stream. This is the second time. I did Tuesday night. This is the second time I've ever mentioned his name on stream, and the reason why.
There you go, Hojo.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't like labels either, right? But the reason why is because it's pertinent. He's tried to cancel me, right? But it didn't work. I mean, I'm doing fine. I was making $25 a page working for him.
Ouch.
I'm not making that now. I'm not making that now. I won't get out of bed for $25 a page, obviously. It takes a lot
literally.
Yeah,
$25 a page. Like Sugar King workers will be looking at you like, "Do you need help, Luke?"
Yeah, I could have taken a loan. But quite honestly, I mean, it was, you know, you get to the point to where you start to look at these people now, and I start seeing them like, they are going to try to capitalize on your name or on this situation, try to sell their thing.
Right.
And that was it. He was just trying, number one, he was trying to save his butt by throwing me in, like, you know, he goes to the Nerd Bacon, and most of our stuff is extremely positive stuff. We talk about the news, and then we give some kind of encouragement, education while we're here, right? You guys watch the show. You guys,
Yeah.
Dr. Ben, you've been watching the show now. You know what we're like.
At times, but
It was, you know, so he went to my channel and like showed like, look, all this negative stuff. Scrolled really fast because none of it was negative. I don't really get into that, like calling people out and telling how people suck, right? Like it doesn't make me money to tell you how bad he is. I don't care. Let him find his audience. Let him, build his business. But these people don't think like that. They don't think like that. They want to, number one, not only just not have you a part of their business, but you being successful is an affront to them. Right?
Exactly.
And we see that, but what it does, it hurts the industry. See, if Travis and I could have worked together, we could have made good product together. If he was focusing on the writing, if you really did it better. The second issue of what was that name of that? Voodoo Nations was abysmal. It was terrible. It was to date, it's been the worst script I've ever drawn.
Professionally edited.
Yeah, after the fact, but it was the worst script that I've drawn to date, and I felt so bad about putting that out. And I thought, man, I'm gonna, and I worked really hard on the panels to make it like really polish it up. And the problem that I really ran into was that he was kind of underpaying the colorist, and so like the colors are really flat and dead on it. And I'm like, man, I was very unhappy with that whole situation. But again, it's like, it's trying to put as much out as you possibly can. He had hopes of taking that book to Scout, and Scout is one of those companies that they'll go to a website, and if your name's on that website, then you don't get to work with us. It's more of the blacklisting.
There's the hate group now, baby.
And I've got pictures from Tampa Bay Comic-Con where you've got Scout's booth is empty, and you've got Riot Press is full of people.
Oh yeah, that was
because
funny.
It's the creative output. When you say F politics, F ideology, I don't care if we agree or not. Let's work together. Let's create product that we're passionate about. Let's make characters. We're not selling our product based on the diversity of our creative team. We're selling the product based on the content that's inside. If it has a diverse cast, then it has a diverse cast. I'm a white man. I can write a black woman. If you're a black man, you can write an Asian man or a Hispanic. It doesn't matter. If you're a good writer, you can write anything. Aaron Jordan, fantastic writer. His main character is a white teenage boy. Writes some of the best dialogue that I've ever lettered in a book. Love his work.
I love that. If I see Scout, I'm out.
One of the main characters for my book is the whole empire takes place in a Latin-esque situation, and you got Rodriguez working on the the pencils and stuff, or the inks, and he's telling me it's like some of the best stuff he's ever he's ever looked at, right? And it's just like I'm white as snow.
Yes, sketchbook it is.
Yep.
Right. So, Dr. Ben, these are some of your pages, right? That were going to be in the book?
Yeah.
What are you doing with them now?
I really don't know, because this is the thing is, I don't own the characters. They're partially, they're characters that Steve Bissett owns, and then we had to make like analog characters for the characters that Alan Moore owns, because the characters from 1963 got split up between Steve Bissett and Alan Moore. Alan Moore obviously is not giving anyone his character. He's not dealing with anybody. Yeah. So we created, like pastiches or analogs or whatever you call them for the different characters of his. But so that's what I'm saying. They're all, one of them's owned by another fella. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. The characters are all owned by different people.
So you can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Put in this time and effort.
I can put it online.
Under parody laws, you just tweak a little bit here and there, the design, and you come up with your own script and change the names. And it's a parody. You're completely free. So you can do that.
I've considered that. And that's what I'm saying. Is like, it's still, like I said, this is like a week since I got kicked off all of this. I was in the middle of finishing the colors. A lot of these were just like flats, because we were doing that sort of like a Ben-Day dot treatment on it. So that's why I was still having a hell of a time doing that. But yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm still trying to figure out exactly if am I going to do that. I've got
thanks, Justin.
Plenty of my own other comics I do.
Exactly, that's the other thing.
Like I did a thing about From Hell for a university over in wherever it is that Alan Moore's at. I can't remember the name of the place. Anyways, I do. That's what I'm saying. I've got other comics I do. So
doesn't he live like in Camelot or something?
So I'm convinced it's this Iron Age kind of thing, which encompasses more than just comic books.
Oh yeah.
I think the industry is alive and well. I think it's doing fine.
Yeah.
I think that corporate comics are struggling because of their, number one, I think their fear of the changing market. Mm-hmm. 2, their inability to take criticism. And 3, their religion, which is politics, is their religion. Right. They are Marxists.
Unfortunately,
many of these,
too true.
And they can't tolerate anyone that doesn't think the same way they do.
Yep.
And until that gets out of the corporate comics, they're going to continue to struggle. And you're going to you're going to see a continued drop in sales, but you're not seeing that among crowdfunded books about books that are going out there. I don't know what you're going to do, Dr. Ben. Do you have a plan for a book?
Oh yeah. I've got. That's what I'm saying. Like I've got. Like this is last year I did relaunch, right?
Let me get you
which
relaunch,
which is basically like my version of the Punisher, but if it was if it was this lady, right?
So you race swapped and gender swapped the Punisher.
Yeah,
God.
She gets.
There you go, man.
She starts off.
Look, we do it too.
Yeah, dude, and it's the Punish her. I like it.
That's the first. She's held by these evil clown people, and they throw acid on her face, and obviously she ends up with a skull face thing, right? Like I kind of influenced by Chapel from Youngblood too, by Rob Liefeld. Specifically speaking of Jay Lee earlier, specifically the Jay Lee version of Chapel, where he's got those fangs and he's just, that's who I wanted to be when I grew up, when I was a kid. Like that was.
John wants
Or
to
the
know if the
CIA
Whisper
tonight.
Network is still there. Yes.
Yeah.
They've moved into Discords now.
Yeah,
And
they
their-
have.
And their whispers have stopped
Yep.
being whispers and are more screams.
Yep.
Okay, they've been exposed and they
Of
don't really
horror. Yeah.
they don't really care as much.
It's
Yeah,
the
picture-
scream of the dead.
Yeah, picture Alderaan exploding and Obi-Wan kind of like, ooh, I felt a disturbance in the Force. Like that.
Yeah. So we've got books for days that are good here.
Walking Dead. Yeah. Anyway.
Look how close we are to 20K.
Oh,
I
dude.
think he can, man, he is so close. Guys, you know what? I would like to flip me the bird today.
Yeah.
Right? We're at the 3-hour mark. We're getting ready to close down. Before we do that, we've talked about blacklisting and how it's affecting the creative output of the comic industry. As long as it continues, that's going to suck, right? And I think anybody, even independents, small publishers like Scout, creative output suffers. A lot of people say, if I see Scout, I'm out, right? Because it's...
There's no such thing as a relaunch.
really good.
Is that what Truman said? Well,
I think back the days of Kirby and Stan, Kirby and Lee. Those guys didn't get along, but man, did they make some great stuff together.
Well, this is
Sometimes
the
you
other
have
thing
to-
I wanted.
well, they
What was that,
were they were more professional than the majority of the comics industry is today.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Ben, what were you saying?
Well, I was going to say the other aspect is that the other comic I was doing, I had was commissioned to do work for this other comic that was it's a spin-off from this whole Giant Size 63 thing. If you look on any of my social media for the last month, just about every day I was like sharing the link for the Kickstarter,
That screams like
promoting it, doing music video reel, doing all the
Yeah.
stuff to try and promote it. And that's the other after effect of being thrown off this Giant Size 1963 is that the editor from this other book, Suspense Stories of the Silent, at this point I'm not sure what's happening. He's gone back and forth on whether he's gonna continue to include my pages. He's not gonna include them. Originally he said he was gonna send me 100 copies of the book once he got it printed. Now he says he's not. Maybe if I apologize and said I'm not Comicsgate, then he'll put. And I'm like, I'm not. That's not how I work at all. If you're trying to hold a carrot in front of me, I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit down and And
I don't really do the hashtags, really, to be honest. Everybody knows who I'm friends with and where I hang out, and pretty much anybody that does good work, that has a strong work ethic, and is good. They're good-hearted. They've got character. If you've got character, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to associate with you. I'm going to be around you. And I think about some of these people that are amazing, like Jose Garcia, Kelsey Shannon, all of the people that are working for the Arrow books, AR-13L. We've got good people that are in independent comics doing great stuff.
I did fan art for the Little Mermaid there.
There you go.
Did all kinds of stuff.
Wait a minute. Got to blow that up.
Yeah. Well, I'll show you the
Oh, look at that. Oh, sorry. It shrunk it. I'm going to blow them up.
Well, I've got a couple of them. I don't know where they go. Oh, here's the other one. The other one has got the shark in the background. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, there you go.
I did there. Yeah.
Cocaine shark.
I like that.
Shark.
That's not baby shark.
That's going to work for Fan Art Fridays if you take a look at the Fun My Comic website or the Twitter page.
Well, and see, that's the other thing. I'm trying. I do have to try my own plug here. Is trying to get I threw my hat in to try and draw the elephant. This is the one I'm really.
Boom.
I don't know if you know about Ethan looking for.
An artist for Elephant.
For Elephant.
Elephant.
And it's I think he wants to base it on this true story about this elephant that they hung back in 1916, which I mean, it's
weirdos.
Wow.
Horrific. I mean, the elephant had killed someone, but
Yeah. But you hang an elephant? That's weird.
Yeah, my God, it's a horrific story.
Hang 'em high. Yeah. There you go.
Well, you got Bronze Stars made 18,000 over here on the website.
Look at that.
Here's
That's a great product.
Here's Aaron
Wolfskin.
Yeah, there you go.
Wolfsbane.
Aaron
Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah.
This is the book that we were talking about. That I said that the dialogue is amazing.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, art ain't too shabby either.
No, it is
I
not.
like it. I like it.
Look at that.
Luke, can we blow this up for a sec? Because this one post here, since we just talked about it.
That post
This post here, yeah.
Yep. Fan Art Friday.
with that great drawn logo sitting there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fan Art Friday.
Fan Art Friday.
There's so much, and the truth is, we can create this community within the industry, this fandom, right? This new fandom we create because people are excited about these things.
You know, one of the things that really impressed me with what you're doing, Luke, not just with the, I mean, I enjoy the Fun My Comic stuff, but with also the Iron Age distribution, taking being able to offer creators a way to get their works into actual comic shops through a distributor that's not
The ones that want to carry entertaining comics. That is, yeah.
All right, so as a juxtaposition, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just, how many other people have even considered or even talking about helping comic shops? Because that's the other set of victims in all of this culture war, blacklist, cancel cult. You're a retailer, you got your comic book shop, and this week this guy's okay, next week he's bad, you can't get his comics. People are, I'm saying, like, retailers have a slim enough margin to operate on anyways.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Without finding out that
well, to be fair, there's a lot of retailers out there that have turned their nose up at indie.
Yeah, exactly.
Of independent works. And here's what I'm learning. It's the shops that have embraced them that are doing well.
Yep.
Fans learned during Pencils Down that there is more entertainment out there besides the 17 titles of Batman. And that maybe there's your new version of Batman. I hear this from time to time.
Well,
in fact, I think it's a Tank Ferret that says
there's also a Field of Dreams mentality here. If you build quality eventually and you're out there enough, you market it enough, people will eventually see it. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of crowdfunding is now. That's why everybody who's out there screaming doom and gloom about the crowdfunding industry, oh, we've reached a hump, or there's the peak, or it's all downhill from here. No, the audience is still growing. And if you go in and you look, the money is less per person thanks to the current economic status, but the audience is still growing.
The audience is growing every day. Juxtaposition of working with Travis versus working with Justin Sweet. I love working on this story. Justin's a creative guy. The story is fun. The character is fun. Someone asked me, so I designed the villain, Bishop Lucas. And people fan arted the crap out of that. They loved it, the design. And but my daughter asked me the other day, what was the favorite character you've ever designed? And I was like, ooh. She was like, is it Trash Man? Is it Bone? Is it? She started going through the list of things, like some of my favorite characters that I've made. And I said, it's Scratch. It's Chrome Dog. I didn't think I was going to be drawing it. I just thought I was designing it. But I've had a lot of fun on this project.
It comes through.
And I would have these ideas, like these silly ideas. And I was like, it would be really funny if this mascot head would have expressions, since he's covered the head stuck on. I mean, would it be, and how funny is that mascot? He's punching and it's just a big smiley plastic head, And I made it look like the eyes were clear. It was just, we had fun. I said, hey, I've got this idea for this. What do you think? And he was just on board with it, He's like, that'll be fun. And we had a good time making this, and we're having a really good time making this book. You can still get this one, by the way. So this is still available. And Aaron Lopresti What an amazing artist did a cover for this thing.
Lopez.
Great cover.
We have such talented people in the independent sphere in this area where, and I mean, there's independents that are anti this side of the aisle, right?
Yeah.
Anybody that associates.
It's right.
There's still talented people there. I'm not saying that they're not. There's many, many talented people. There are talented people that would love to associate with the fan base over here in kind of this realm, right? But they don't, out of fear of being canceled.
Yeah, and that was part of the charm for me growing up in comics, reading comics, just absorbing any kind of comic I could get my hands on, was the fact that you would run across that book with a diverse opinion, a diverse lifestyle, a different culture, anything. And that's how great comics are to me, in that it's an all, and you want to, the terms inclusivity and diversity is so misused anymore, but it's great to see the variety out there, even now, that's available out there in crowdfunding sites. That's one of the great things about Fund My Comic. We don't care what your politics are. They don't care if you're doing a great book. You solicit for a great book. You put it under people's noses and see where it goes.
Arrow Comics doesn't care about your politics.
No.
Write a good story.
Yes. Entertainment.
Be meticulous about your art.
That's what works. Our what is it? Our aim is entertainment. Our target is quality.
That's professionalism.
That's the rule of the company. Yeah, it's professionalism.
Don't give two shoots.
Two shakes.
Don't give two shakes. I almost said something else.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I was like, there we go, bro. Hold it back. This is a really cool picture. Man, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Telepathic bunny. That's right.
Isn't that great?
Some T-Bunny stuff in here.
Yeah, with Liber. Okay.
What's
her name? American Bliss. With American Bliss. Because I call her another name. Just Liberty. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Be nice.
I'm gonna say one of the things I noticed is it seems like some people, they want to find a reason not to work with you or not to read your book, whereas it feels more like we're the people that want to find a reason to work with someone.
Yeah, put it flat on the table. Some people want to find reasons to hate other people.
Yeah.
It's that simple, and it's just not. All they need is a little education.
Look at that.
And a little understanding, a little empathy out there for everybody.
Look at what
and a
Hojo
punch
was
in the
able to
face.
do.
Everybody. Look
Hojo's
at that.
first book.
Boom.
Nice.
Hard work and getting out in front of people and introducing himself. He was able to gather 325 people to buy his book. First book. Raised $10,000 collectively for this book.
Pages.
It's 24 pages.
There we are.
People are happy to have it.
Got this 24 or 124?
24.
Oh, Mythical's number 1. 24 pages of Supernatural Act. Right. Okay, got it. Sorry.
It's quality, man. Look at that.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Sharing that stuff.
It's good stuff. There's such good product out there. We don't have to, and this is what you get with creative output. Dillard, that ended already. We need to take that one down.
Probably take Fool off. It's not on the main page, but
well, it needs to be back up. I think we'll put it back up
probably
there.
Needs to be over on the store.
Yeah, it's on the store. So we got the Fool. Let's go the Fool.
Folks, we've rounded the third hour. Make sure you hit that like button and that love button on your way out. It does help our algorithms.
Yep.
It really
There's
does.
not enough like buttons hit out there today, and we've had a great audience.
We really have. The Fool.
There
look
it
at
is.
that.
Look at that.
Barely advertised.
Barely advertised. Yeah, I didn't promote it worth it.
Barely advertised. The book
Great
is shipping.
colors. Just the colors on this are phenomenal. Can't wait to show you the next book that Patrick's just about done on. That's a completely different bend from this. This is a lighthearted urban vigilante who fights street crime using practical joke weapons, a dumb sense of luck, and a costume that makes him look like a rodeo clown.
Yep.
And a sense of humor. It's a fun, self-contained story about a lunatic running around the city fighting crime and the cops that have been assigned to just get this nut off the street. So,
John, I'm glad you had a good time listening today. Guys, check this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about the street team.
Street
That's what I
team
wanna
up.
know about. Yeah.
We've had 3 people sign up already. You can sign up to be a part of our street team. We're starting out with the first level. We're going to get you stickers. We're going to give you a PDF that you can print off, and for flyers to hand out. And then we're going to send you a T-shirt that says "Fund My Comic Street Team" on it. This is level 1. When you're going out there, take pictures, show off, use the hashtag #FundMyComic, and let people know that that you are basically out there preaching the good news of Fund My Comic, right? The more you let us know, the more people you bring into the platform, we'll start bringing you up in new levels. We'll start adding levels. And the more active you are promoting the website, promoting the campaigns on the website, the more stuff you'll get. Exclusive gear, special stuff. We're going to reward you for basically being our marketing wing of Fund My Comic. We believe in the in the kind of the guerrilla warfare that we're doing here, the grassroots kind of stuff that we're doing, because we're fighting against a dying market in many cases. People, there are potential comic book fans out there that have left comic books a long time ago, and it's time for them to come back. It's time for them to come back.
The other thing
I think some of these crowdfunders have proven that well
Someone
is
flipped us the
far
bird.
from dry.
Hey, the bird.
Someone flipped us
There
the
we
bird.
are. Look at there.
It is the bird.
Yeah.
Bird is the word.
Bird is the word. And you're right. The well has not dried up.
No.
Nope.
Speaking about Fund My Comic and stuff, do you mind if I do a shameless plug there?
Shame away.
All right. Coming to Fund My Comic in the future, we got Driftwood. Is anybody there taking a look at the art on this thing?
Looks gorgeous, man.
This is Renzo Rodriguez and myself on this on pencils, and I'm on the story. And it's just going to be a story about necromancers. We're hopefully going to see that next Halloween, not this one coming up, but next one. And so just stay posted on it, and going directly on Fund My Comic first, not the pink or green site. Fund My Comic. That's where
Gold
it's going
site.
first. The gold
Site.
standard.
There we are.
Yeah, baby.
And, so look forward to that. Thanks again, folks.
Thanks. And it's all about serving the fans, right? I mean, that's really what it's about. It's about creating things that are going to live beyond us.
Yep.
Whether it's a website or a story or a company or what we do with hopefully what you're doing with your family, the work that you put in there. It's about leaving something that's bigger than us and that's better than us. There's too much negativity in this world.
Yeah, there is.
We just walked through why people like Dr. Ben are getting blacklisted.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing these people know how to do is tear down. They don't know how to build up.
So
they don't know how
before
to
we
make
go,
something.
before we go, guys, I'm thinking about inclusivity done the right way. This is one of the characters for Waifus and Kaijus coming to you on Fund My Comic. And we're on the mailing list phase now. This is D.S. Singh from India, driving the mech Rama. It's 8 mech pilots coming together from all over the world to defend Earth from an otherworldly threat called Lord Cersei. And we're going to be revealing the characters and their dossiers. Like, basically, she's an Olympian archer, so that's why Rama was designed for her with a bow in mind. And each one of the characters have their own characteristics, so it's based basically on weaponizing sports. So yeah, Waifus and Kaijus, guys, if you like what you see, you're going to see a lot more art throughout the coming weeks. And yeah, join the mailing list.
Yeah,
it's going to be 130
Sign up, guys.
pages. Yeah, 130 pages of robot action and hot chicks.
Cannot wait to get my hands on this one.
Waifus and kaijus.
Big mega bundle. Teen Arrow comics plus stretch goals.
$90.
Yeah.
All right.
$90.
Service is going to outlive me.
I hope so. I hope,
Hell yeah, Pedro. Amaze balls.
there's so much good stuff going on here. That's why we just kind of ignore all that negative stuff that's going on, honestly.
Yeah, screw that.
Because there's really no point in it, right? We talk about it today. We relive those old things only so that we can show why a guy like Dr. Ben, who just is contributing to an anthology, gets kicked out for nothing.
For silly reasons.
And think about it, folks. All of that energy that was put into hating whisper networks and all of this backstabbing, gossiping BS, all the wasted talent out there that could have been used productively into this industry.
Right.
Yeah,
all of that time took away from making good comics.
Yeah.
Hating ain't creating, folks. Hating ain't creating.
Yeah, exactly. I want to quote this amazing British philosopher. When you're hating, you ain't creating.
Yeah.
Ross. That's his words. And dude, those are words to live by, man.
They really are, And so, guys, I want to encourage you today. Don't be like these other people. Try to do better. Leave your mark somewhere. And I'm not just talking about
not in the snow.
Your underwear, not on your underwear.
Not in your. Not talking about your underwear.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got this industry, and
don't eat yellow snow.
I honestly don't think there's a hope for the corporate comics anymore.
I am never gonna.
This is what I was wanted to say too, is that we know that the audience is out there. Comic sales are higher than they've ever been, but where are they at? We all know comic sales are all in manga, right?
Yeah, the mainstream's not mainstream anymore.
No.
The mainstream is actually Scholastic, who's selling hundreds of thousands of Dogman and Cool Cat Comics Club, who've done more for this industry to get kids in reading comics than Marvel and DC has done in the last 30 freaking years. And manga, which kids will read in reverse just to be entertained.
Yeah.
And those corporate comic companies ought to be ashamed that we're making kids do that.
They're not even in color.
They're not even in color.
They just want good stories.
They just want to be entertained.
All this petty BS, but CG is still the problem.
There's some phenomenal manga out there that deserves to be seen. It's just that it's to these large corporations' shame every time there's a top 10 list that comes out and they ain't on it.
What we need to do is get like a bottle, like one of those spray bottles. Every time someone comes up, but CG, just spray them. Like, shut up. It's not about that anymore.
Get an education.
Just shut up. Make good comics. Work with who you want to work with. Go ahead and sit over there with your ideologues and see how much money you make.
Exactly.
But I'm going to work with people that are good storytellers, good artists, good contributors, and we're going to do something that's fun and amazing, like Out of Obscurity. Like
no, you're right. Not everything's great. Not all the comics are great. Not everything that's on, every art is so subjective. There's a lot of trash out there. But it's the good stuff that rises to the top. It's the great stuff that everybody needs to talk about. Because that's how everybody gets better.
Guys, I want you to check out all of the contributors that have been here on the panel today.
There's some weird stuff.
I want to thank the panelists. Thank you, Dr. Ben, for coming in today.
Thank you for
being here, a part of this, telling your story.
Nice to meet
I'm
all
sorry that happened to you, man. I really am. I'm hoping for good things for your career. I'll be praying for you. And,
damn straight.
I'm looking forward to you sticking around and being a part of this little group right here that's growing. This kind of Bacon Nation that we're building. It's this community within this industry that we're pulling together, because there are communities within the industry, where people like to be together.
I hate that word.
I know you do, but in this sense, it's the right way to use it. We're really pulling together a good group of people. Good, just a really good group of people. Solid people.
Good friends.
Good friends.
In a community.
Good fellowship.
Yep.
People that want to build
community
something.
Just says ghetto to me.
I mean, look, all that energy spent to tear down.
Yeah.
It's easy to do that. It's easy to tear things down. It's easy to deconstruct. It's easy to try to get people fired. It's easy to go into the focus on the negative and go into the whisper networks and back rooms. It's difficult to say I'm not going to engage in that stuff, but I'm going to build things. I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to hang out with who I want to hang out with. And I'm going to work with who I want to work with. And I'm going to make great stories. And I'm going to focus on taking care of the fans first.
Yep.
Let's
Make
do
great
that,
comics.
guys. Let's build up more than we tear down. Let's leave the wood pile higher than we found it. And you know what's coming next. I want everybody out there to be careful.
I'm looking. Are you finding it?
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there.
Everybody, sing along.
We had a 187 at the 7-Eleven on the corner of 4th and Main. 2 Caucasians of the male persuasion put a bullet through the cashier's brain. Moving on, I see it 211, half a dozen 459, 2 AEWs, a GTA, and several miscellaneous crimes.